Hey, welcome. Yes, it's my birthday. It's also Valentine's Day, which is a day that I don't normally celebrate anyways. Not that I don't go out and have dates or things like that nature. It's just not a big day for me on Valentine's Day. I don't really do much on it. Or my birthday, but I was supposed to go out tonight. I may still, I don't know. I know a few people have said, "Hey, come out and we'll get you drunk the way you did last year, get you a concussion." And I was like, oh, that sounds great. I loved last year how I actually fell down, got a mild concussion. I'm not going to do that again. But I don't know if I'm going to head out tonight or not. But I was like, yeah, you know what? I need to do a stream before I do, even if I do head out or don't head out. I want to do a stream, kind of like old school style. I was going to do Meets. I was going to do Google Meets. Like, remember back in the old days, people were, all getting Google Meet. But I was like, man, that's too difficult to do because of dishonest people. And also it's a lot of people in one hangout. I had like 24, 25 at one time a few years ago. And it was unwieldy. So I was like, I'll just have an old school hangout, put StreamYards instead where I can get six people, have a little more control if they want to come in or not. It doesn't really matter, like I said, because I don't know what's happening tonight. I'm just kind of playing it by ear. I got my roommate here. She's chilling. Can she hear me? I don't know if she can hear me. She's looking at me like cross-eyed, so I think she can hear me. But I think she's watching something. So, happy birthday to me. Can you hear me? She can't even hear me. Can you hear me?
What?
You can't hear me, can you?
No, I was starting
Oh.
music.
Oh, nice. Yeah. But I was just saying I was chilling here with my roomie. So anyways, I just think she can hear me. But I was like, whenever we do these old school type things, we always kind of like toss a topic out first. And I was like, what topic do I got tonight? I haven't really thought about it. And so it kind of just came to me as I was on Twitter, a topic. If you guys want to discuss, if not, that's fine. Like I said, I can ramble for 20 minutes, until I get a message about heading out or just, force myself to head out tonight and meet all those lonely women at the bars like I usually do. Right. Or men, whatever. Last year I got picked up by a guy, which was funny, because my friend who wants to go out tonight took me out last year, and one of his friends was like totally hitting on me, and I really wasn't like catching on, but I was told later that he's like, yeah, dude, he was totally thinking he was going to take you home, and I'm like, oh no, that was not going to happen. He's like, yeah, and I tried to explain to him that that wasn't going to happen, but I was like, I was flattered, but anyways, oh, thank you, Kimaki, thank you. Yes, I am 53. It's amazing being over 50. It's so surreal, right? Because you think all your life, hey, I'm 20, 21. You finally made 21, you can drink. You finally, hit 30. You're like, oh my God, 30. And then 35, and you have kids or whatever. And, you're like, damn, you're 50. Oh my God, now I'm 53. It goes by fast. Next thing I'll be 54 and then, pushing 60. It's all good. I actually am probably happier now at 53 than I have been when I was in my 40s. So yeah, I'm good with that. Beats the alternative, I guess, even though I'll have to tell you, I had a weird dream the other night before I get into the topic of discussion. I had a weird dream that I died in my sleep. And it was one of those dreams where it's so real, right? You're like thinking to yourself, this is it. Game over, man. I got like 4 seconds left in my life. It was like literally like 4 seconds. I knew, and I was like, there's no escape. There's no way I can get out of this. I'm screwed. I'm going to die. I just hope it's quick, right? And I thought to myself, and I died. I died in my sleep, and it got like this blackness, right? And then I woke out of it, and I thought to myself, how if that actually was something that actually happened, if that was so that not just a dream. I mean, I'm not saying that it was more than a dream, but I'm saying in real life, if that were to happen, it would be just like that. I didn't find myself praying to God. I didn't find myself, trying to negotiate. I didn't find myself having any kind of metaphysical crisis. I was like, this sucks. I'm screwed. I mean, I really thought it was one of the situations where I couldn't get out of it. I mean, it was like no chance of salvation kind of thing as being saved. Somebody come and save me from certain death. I was doomed to die in about 3 or 4 seconds. And it was kind of an existential thing, right? I mean, everything went black and I woke up. But in real life, when you die, I don't think you even see black. I think it's just, you'd be like before you even existed. The universe existed 13.9 billion years before you. You won't even notice anything. And that's just the way it is with if that's the case. If it's mythological or ontological naturalism, and there is nothing after death, then you're not going to care one way or another. Nothing you can do about it. Live your life the best you can. treat people with, the best you can, and try to help people and have productive future society. Because, especially if you have kids, you want a better future society for them. Even if you're, don't want it for yourself because you're some selfish bastard and you don't care about society, you only think about yourself. You at least want a better future for your kids, right? But it kind of dovetails into the initial topic I'm going to discuss. And again, if you want to like talk in the live chat or if you want to come in, either's fine. But it was just happening just right now on Twitter about the commercial that was on the Super Bowl. And I didn't watch the Super Bowl. I did watch the commercial. I did watch the halftime show. I love Rihanna. I didn't think it was the best performance because, I'm gonna give the girl credit. I mean, she's pregnant and she's singing like 12 big hits in 13 minutes. And it's, a lot of work. But I've never really liked her songs anyways. I just happen to like Rihanna, but I'm not a big fan of her music. But I thought the halftime show for last year was incredible with Snoop and all them and Dr. Dre and 50 Cent. That was so good. Lady Firebrand for $2.99 Australian. Thank you. She says, happy celebration on your presence on Earth. Oh, that's sweet. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Lady Firebrand. And thank you for hanging out tonight for a few minutes. I know everybody's probably got plans with their significant other. The person who made plans with me is one of my closest friends here, but whatever. But anyways, so I did watch the Super Bowl ad, and this ad was supposedly cost $20 million, and it was an advert for He Gets Us, which was relating to Jesus, that there was a political rebel, I guess, 2,000 years ago, and that Jesus spoke out and they crucified him for it. And it was a commercial for Christianity is all it was, right? Now, I don't care who gives a commercial for the Super Bowl. If you have the money, go for it. I don't care. I'm not against that in any way, shape, or form, right? But the issue I have with it is, when you spend $20 million to promote your religion, when you could be using that money for something else, I have issue with this. Now, somebody in Twitter just recently with Kawasa was saying, well, it raised billions of dollars for this, this, and this. I don't know how much it raised, but they neglected to mention, as Kawasa astutely pointed out, that organization also funds anti-abortion. That organization also funds anti-LGBTQ plus and is anti-gay marriage, and use that money to basically, trample on gay rights. That does not something that is one of those Machiavellian ends justify the means things, or one of those things that the lesser of two evils. That's not a lesser of two evils. You're spending money to promote religion. You're spending money to promote Christianity, which to me is self-refuting. Because if you have an all-powerful God and you have Jesus wants to spread his message, why is he doing it through TV? Why is he doing it through people having to spend money from people who donate? It's all donations to get a message across that he could easily give across just by saying, hey, yo, I'm Jesus. Here's my message. These messages I don't think are from God. They seem to be messages from people. They seem to be messages from people that promote their own personal view on Christianity, their own personal view on religion, and their own personal views on politics and ideology. Nothing about that religion, to me, spoke of what Christianity was about. Nothing about that would make somebody say, hey, I saw this commercial, I want to become a Christian. No, it was all about promoting Christianity to get people to donate through donations. Because they were so proud they raised money, right? That's not religion. I mean, that's not, a healthy religion's all about. It's not about raising money, because that money isn't going to helping the feed the poor or clothe the naked or to do anything that Jesus would have spent it on. And even if a minimal amount was, it doesn't supersede the fact that they're spending money on trampling people's rights, on gay rights and abortion rights. I'm sorry, but you cannot support an organization like that. And consider yourself a moral person. Free Belt 626 for $5 says, what about will the Calvinists think when they are going, God, get to heaven and Art and Ron's there? Yeah. It's going to be out of like, what do they call, South Park, where they're like, so God, who had it right? It was the Mormons. The Mormons had it right. And Aaron was originally Mormon. So that God would be like, see, Aaron, you had it right, but you messed up. Calvinism is interesting, because Calvinism, with their predestination hypo predestination, that God has already predetermined their plan of salvation, makes everything kind of moot. Yeah, it'd be funny if there is a God and he picks like Aaron Rod to go, hey, we've all had it messed up, right? But Aaron Rod at least was against Calvinism, so he's like, hey, you guys screwed up there. Christopher said power was out. Glad it turned back on just in time. Good. Nice of you to join us. April says 5 to Canadian. We're here for a good time, not a long time. Trooper 324. Happy birthday, Steve. Thank you, April. Yeah. It's not a long time, but we'll have a good time because you get to listen to me ramble on about stuff and agree or disagree. Kind of what I've been doing in late night streams, just talking about a subject. If people want to change the subject, that's fine. And hi, Renell. Happy birthday. I hope you see many more. Appreciate it very much. And and here's let me throw that out there. I like Renell is a believer, and I have the utmost respect for that kind of belief. People that believe in Christianity, that do so with faith and want to help people and spread the message that Christ in the New Testament put out, I'm all for that. I have nothing against that whatsoever. I find it kind of deplorable when they say, hey, listen to this sermon and we'll give you a sandwich, rather than give us a sandwich and if you want to listen to the sermon. That's two different things. And I do think there's a problem when you are preying on the weak, right? But I mean, I can understand the Christian view on that. They're like, hey, look, when you're weakest, that's when you need Jesus. Okay. And if it helps you, absolutely. God bless. Do it. If it helps you to overcome things, I got no issue with that. I don't think that's predatory. What I think on that ad, it is a little bit predatory because they're doing it during a Super Bowl, which is not really their audience. It's a bunch of rednecks and cowboys. And, most people who watch Super Bowl are not going to be heavy left leaning probably. But they're going for that red patriotic America, America, guns and which I'm pro gun, guns and Jesus. But none of them really even talk about the message of Jesus. They never really talk about, what would Jesus do as far as like spreading the gospel without having to spend $20 million that would have gone to other means. What is so important about that message? Because it wasn't a message about salvation. And even if it was, why do you need to do that on a Super Bowl ad? Why doesn't Jesus need to get his message across during a Super Bowl? It seems really out of place to me. If you want to get the message across in church, because that's, voluntary, you go to church and you know what you're going to get, and you want to spread the message of salvation via a church, more power to you, man. I don't think that we should get rid of churches. I think they do serve a purpose. I'm one of the minority on that aspect of non-believers. I know a lot of non-believers will say, get rid of the churches, they're all banned. I'm like, no, that's so much violation of free speech and First Amendment. And, the fact that there are some benefits to having churches, I think. Doesn't mean that they're right. Doesn't mean they're wrong. I mean, some of them have, if not all of them have to be wrong. But at least the majority have to be wrong because they preach very different things, right? The Catholic Church is right. Calvinism is wrong. If Calvinism is wrong, or is right, then the Catholic Church is wrong. They both can be wrong too. By the way, that's contraries for you. Contraries can both be false. But, I just think it was kind of out of place because they're promoting an ideology. They're not promoting Christianity, in my opinion. What they're promoting is a way to get people to fund them so they can go out and have ads for anti-abortion and ads for anti-gay and, against gay marriage and things of that nature. That's the real message of those people. If you look at I don't remember the name of the organization, but that's their what they're known for. They spend a lot of money on promoting things that are against abortion rights and against gay rights. So that message, that Super Bowl message that spent $20 million was not to promote Christianity. It was to promote organization that is against all these other political things. It was a political spot. That's it. And again, I don't care about that. You can have any political spot. You got the money, go for it. Spend it any way you choose on a Super Bowl ad. But I think there should be pushback for it. There was a guy that does videos. His name's What Do You Meme? And he's like, oh, people are so triggered by the Super Bowl ad. And he had AOC and a few other right-wing pundits all screaming or something about the ad. And I'm thinking, I don't first of all, I didn't see any of that, but I'm like, who's triggered by that ad? Why would anybody be triggered? It doesn't mean that there isn't pushback by their opinion on if that ad was out of place and if it actually promoted Christianity, right? Doesn't mean there's people who are triggered. I'm not talking about this now because I was triggered by an ad. I couldn't care less if you put an ad on Super Bowl, but that doesn't mean you can't criticize it as being maybe tone deaf, especially in today's environment, especially when people are struggling, especially when prices are going up exponentially. I mean, where I'm live, oh my God, things are expensive as hell. I mean, I remember shopping not more than 3 or 4 years ago, and I know for a fact this was like 99 cents, right? 99 cents, even at the dollar store, 99-cent dollar stores, no longer 99 cents, it's $1.29 or 25 or whatever. But I mean, I knew certain prices. I knew if I went to Winco, I could get this item for $1, 99 cents. I knew if I went to Food for Less, I get it for $1.25 or something, right? I knew the prices because I shopped all the time. Now, there's double that stuff now. It's literally double. I mean, go price a 2-liter of Pepsi. $2.99 for a 2-liter of Pepsi. $3.99 if you order through Domino's. That's just incredible. And so, you know, we all have a discretionary fund. You know, we all like to, like tonight, I'm going to go out and probably have a drink and I'll spend $20 on drinks. That's my discretionary fund. If not, I'll spend it out on myself somehow, right? I'd like to treat myself occasionally. But just getting the necessities, you have to spend an awful lot. And so, you know, you're spending $20 million that could be going to build maybe a shelter or help, you know, a donation center. You know, and again, their argument is, well, it raised more money than it spent. But that money is still being used for other things that are not just helping people, you know, and I don't think it's appropriate to spend $20 million to get people to donate, to use it to fund other things, because at that point it proves my point that the commercial was not about Jesus. It was not about Christianity. It was not about salvation. It was fundraising. Does anybody not see that relationship? If you're doing a commercial and you're bragging about how much money that commercial brought in, and again, I haven't verified that. This was just somebody saying it brought in, you know, like $1 billion or whatever the hell it is. Then how do you not see then the point of that commercial was not to bring people to Jesus. It was to have people that already believed in Jesus spend money or donate money. And again, donate money all you want. I get donations. I got donations right now. I donate to things. If I have a just cause, I donate. If people need money, I give it to them. If people need food, I give them money. I don't ever ask for anything in return, nor do I make it public. There's a lot of people I guarantee that I've given a lot of money to, so they make sure they have food on the table. And the reason I do that is because they've done it for me. And even if they didn't, I still probably would do it, right? Because I don't like seeing people go hungry. But you cannot argue that a commercial where people are donating, where they're donating to say, oh, yeah, you know, here's money that to promote the message of Christ, when that money is being used to promote things like anti-abortion and anti-gay. That's dishonest. That's dishonest. Because you're not converting anybody. Who do you think watched that ad and said, oh man, I never thought about that. Yeah, Jesus he was a rebel in those days, and he spoke against the Pharisees, and he flipped over the coin changers. And you know what? I want to become Christian. That probably didn't happen to anybody. It was to the Christian audience that are usually pretty giving in order to promote Christianity, but it wasn't promoting Christianity. It was just so out of place to me. And I think that's what the pushback was. And I would love for a Christian to weigh in on that. And like I said, I know Winnell is, and I respect her immensely. I know Cy Gart is a Christian. I respect him immensely. That is not Brittany Steinman. That is not Brittany Steinman. No, it is. Brittany. She says, hi, happy birthday. My rent started at 13 in 2020, and it's now 1900. Wow. And now they want 23. Geez, our rent went up too. Yeah, we go up every 6 months, but nowhere near that much. But yeah, that's the average for a studio apartment around where I'm at. Just to get in the door, you're looking at about $1,250, probably, maybe $1,300. Yeah. You're moving to Europe. Wow. And living in small rural villages, by the way. There's only one Walmart here. I just want to say I need to go edit. Aren't you getting married though, Brittany? And by the way, I adore you still. Brittany Simon is one of my favorite humans of all time. go check out her channel. Love her to death. She's so direct and so on point on how she looks at the world and inquisitive, and I just adore her. So, but yeah, things are expensive. Lady says you would lose it if you saw the prices of groceries here. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And now in California, people do make a little bit more on the average, but in the long run, though, if you make a certain amount and you're spending twice as much than you would if you're living in Colorado or something, then you're not coming out net ahead. Luckily, I do keep my expenses low, and so I'm able to save. But if I wasn't, yeah, things are expensive, and I'm always trying to say where I can cut back. Do I have to get the brand name this? No, I like the cheaper stuff. Will I cut back on certain things? Like, will I cut back on like mayonnaise? No, I will not get imitation mayonnaise. Sorry. Never get imitation mayonnaise. I want Miracle Whip, which is not true mayonnaise, but whatever. Or I'll get, actual mayonnaise because I like it better. I won't skimp on coffee either. I got some cheap coffee once, instant coffee. It was so bad that I took it to work and I was like, you guys want this? Because it was so nasty. I go for good coffee, Maxwell House, or we get Dunkin' Donuts. There's certain things that I'm willing to splurge a little bit more and say where I'll save on the other things, right? But nowadays, people are having to budget like I've never seen before. I budgeted for a long time, so I'm used to it. But now people are having to do it by necessity, right? But Brittany says, I adore you. I'm getting married. Yeah, I heard. Congratulations. We will catch up soon. I'm hoping to be with him. It's cheaper for me where I'm going and who talks. Okay, we will catch up. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, Brittany. So happy for you. Happy Valentine's Day. And I hope your marriage has, multiple kids and, you live happily ever after. Willie Mays fan says 12 a.m. Need to sleep. Happy birthday. Thank you, Willie. Kawasa. Hey, to speak of the devil. Maybe we should do a 20 million campaign to fight lacktheism and promote philosophy, right? Well, that's what I have my channels for, right? That's what I have my channels for. At least this one, because I am, as you guys know, mostly doing on this channel that kind of stuff. I really think it's a foundational because people say, why do you harp on that stuff? I go, because people don't understand basic philosophy and they don't understand bad argumentation or how to attack an argument. Then they're going to make us look bad with theists. They're going to go into a conversation with a high level theist and get roll the fuck stomped, right? And I don't like that. Kawasa, Peter Harrington, happy birthday. Thank you, Peter. By the way, like I said, the link is available to join if you wish. Kawasa for 20,000 won says, thank you. He says, oh, happy birthday, by the way. Thank you, Kawasa. And like I said, this actually was because of you, man. I was going to stream anyways, but I was like, how do I open it up, right? Because I was like, if you want a free-form discussion or if you want people to come in or just hang on live chat, what's a good topic to discuss? And you were on Twitter talking about this very thing. Hey, Jeff. Thank you. And yeah, it's just because it makes it look so bad and stupid. And this is ubiquitous in the atheist community. They're so stupid. So stupid, some of them. And it's so funny because I'm going to be doing a video, I think, Friday maybe? Well, actually, I got two planned. So one video I'm going to be doing If Babies Are Atheists debate on Friday. I can't find anybody that wants to debate me on it. That's worth a damn. So it'd probably just be my reasoning and let people call in because I can't find anybody competent. And then the other thing I want to talk about is Cosmic Skeptic. Cosmic Skeptic lately had put something on his community page where he can no longer be a vegan due to health reasons. And if you know anything about Cosmic Skeptic, he is a very, very, very anti-meat eater. He is pro-vegan. He has ethical arguments for veganism, and they're very good. Not going to front. I think that when he discussed veganism with Matt Dillahunty did not assail his argument. Do I think there's ways to assail it? Well, like any argument, sure. But that doesn't make it a bad argument. Ethical veganism has some good points for it. It really does. You can't just hand wave it away like Matt was doing. And we all are a little bit hypocritical to some degree because I happen to like eating meat. But that doesn't mean I can't assail or at least give my pushback to an ethical argument. But that doesn't mean that the ethical arguments are bad, right? But he has to eat, some kind of meat-based stuff because he's not getting the proteins, I would imagine, right? Well, he hasn't given up completely, right? I mean, he still believes his arguments, and he's moving more to, I guess, shellfish and maybe pescatarian. but it's because of health reasons. And this is something that a lot of people have said. If you're on a strict, heavy, pure vegan diet, you may not be getting the proper nutrition. And it was kind of funny because, first you had people that said, I told you so kind of thing. But then you had like a doctor weigh in that said, hey, I'm your biggest patron and I'm disappointed in you because you can have a plant-based diet that's completely healthy and you gave up. And people were telling this doctor, like I did, I was like, dude, his doctor is telling him this is for his health. Who are you to place ideology over his health? If you really support him, if you're his top donor, you should be supportive of him and say, this happens in certain situations where you just cannot maintain a healthy vegan diet and you have to eat meat for health reasons. Okay. That doesn't negate Cosmic's arguments. Okay. But it certainly is weird when you place ideology over this man's health. It's bizarre. And, people say, well, he's a top donor. Well, so what? People made a big stink when I put a top donor to his place because he was a $50 donor. I told her to shove off because he wanted me to arrange debates and discussions with two people that wanted nothing to do with him. And then he started harassing those two people. One of them was a very good friend of mine. And I said, look, I'm not going to be bought. I don't care if you're a $50 Patreon. You're harassing a friend of mine. I've told you I'm not interested in this discussion with you. I'm told you I'm not interested in having other people have a discussion with you. If you want to donate, great. If you don't, that's fine too. But I am not going to be your beck and call or have to do things because you're a Patreon. No. And people are like, this is how Steve treats Patreons. You're damn right. If you ask me to do something that I think is immoral and you attack one of my friends, you cannot pay me enough for that. If that's not being ethical, what is? What is? And I got so much flack for that. Do you remember that? In fact, that was one of the reasons Kyle was trying to excuse an excuse not to have me on the Non Sequitur show. Because I was in a StreamYards call with this person and I was on the Non Sequitur account. And he got so mad. He's like, Steve's talking to a $50 Patreon. I'm like, Kyle, it wasn't even a Non Sequitur show Patreon. It was one of my own Patreons. But if you're a Patreon and you ask me to do something immoral, yeah, I'm going to have a problem with that. Or you start harassing one of my friends, I'm going to have a problem with that. Later Firebrand, holy crap. Jesus. For 79 Australians, says, have a drinks on me tonight. Oh, goddamn. I just might if I can get down there. If not, I will maybe Thursday night, and I'll take a picture. So if it's not tonight, lady, because I'm still waiting to see what my friend's up to, and it is getting kind of late. Plus, it's hard to get back. But I will go out. I promise I will go out, and I'll have drinks on you. Anybody who sends me money for drinks, they always know it goes to alcohol. I do not bullshit about that. But I don't know if it's going to be tonight. Yeah, this is running kind of late now. I know, so it's already 9:11. I have to get dressed. They have to pick me up, or I take the bus, and then I have to wait till 2:00 in the morning to take a ride home. So, Flying Mom Laura, $40. Laura, happy birthday! Thanks for keep me entertained on Twitter and on YouTube. You're welcome, Laura. I recognize that name. Yes. Goddamn, Lady Bird went ham. Wow, I wasn't expecting that. I thought it was just I'd pop on here. I mean, I know a lot of people don't listen online. I get about 10, 15, 20 people. So no, I was not expecting a single super chat. I wasn't doing a birthday stream to go, oh, look, it's my birthday, donate. No, it wasn't anything like that. I was literally just going to get on and talk about something and see if people wanted to join. And then I found a topic that Kawasa was talking about on Twitter, which I thought was very pertinent. It was raining earlier today. But yeah, I very much appreciate the super chats. And lady, yes, I will have a drink on you. It may not be tonight, but I will certainly go out, take a picture of it, like I try to do, and enjoy a nice cocktail. In fact, you know what I might do, lady? I might actually want to order one of those really fancy drinks, that cost like $12. Like I used to get these Bloody Marys. They were like $13 or something like that, or $16. I don't remember, but they had like they had the normal celery, right? But they also had like asparagus and pearl onions and a shrimp. It was delicious, and it was huge too, right? The only thing I changed on is I don't like spicy Bloody Marys, so I asked them to kind of hold back the Tabasco. They're like, well, it's pre-mixed, but we usually add in more Tabasco. I'm like, okay, I'll take the pre-mix, but just don't add in any more Tabasco. They're like, oh, that's not really a Bloody Mary. I'm like, but I'm paying $16 for a drink. I can get it my way, But it was good. It was good. Oh man, it was so good. So I might just get a fancy fufu drink if you don't mind. I haven't had one of those, like a fancy margarita or something. You know, I haven't been out and have one of those drinks in a long time. But so thank you, Flying Mom, and thank you, lady, very much, and Kawasa. It was totally unexpected. I wasn't even remotely expecting that. I'm a little taken back, but it's so funny. I splurged a couple days ago. I got a new green screen. My other green screen was a pain because I had to put it up and it kept falling down, and I didn't like the color of it. And the old green screen that I had, I left where I was at because of a tear in it, and it was just wrecked. And I was like, I'm just gonna throw it away. So I just spent some money on a mid-level green screen, and you guys will see it on the next Non Sequitur show. It works really well. I just need to, do the lighting, which I think I can do. But so this everything tonight just helped me get the green screen that I got the other day. I appreciate that. Thank you. Goddess Comer says, just because you're getting super chats doesn't mean your channel is monetized. Ask Ken Hovind to details. That's funny as hell, dude. I'll talk about that in a second. April says Bloody Mary, the drink, and the woman share a name, and they also share the fact that they're horrible. I'm not a big fan of them, but if they're made really well, I'll drink one. If I'm going to get a food drink, I really like a pina colada, margarita, or I really like Mai Tais. Oh my God. Mai Tais brings back memories. I used to drink Mai Tai with my dad. And so whenever I have a Mai Tai, I think of my dad, but the whole Ken Hovind thing. Yeah. Somebody was arguing that YouTube should pay Ken Hovind, for all the super chats and monetizations that he's missing. But at the same token, Ken Hovind was arguing that his channel wasn't monetized. Well, how was it he was getting super chats if he wasn't monetized? Look, I'm not going to dare question Ken Hovind's integrity. I'm not going to dare question that Ken Hovind was lying to people. But he did say that his channel wasn't monetized. I had an old fashioned. I had one old fashioned, and they were very expensive. I didn't much care for it. It was well made for. I'm like, okay, if this is what old fashioned is supposed to be, then yeah. But I wasn't really a fan of it. Screwdrivers are good, but I'd rather have a mimosa. Give me an orange juice and champagne. I will drink that all damn day long while I drink mimosas. Right? Give me a mimosa and some cantaloupe and some watermelon and some fruits and maybe a nice Caesar salad. Oh, and maybe if you really want to go full bore, shrimp scampi or something, or some really good Mexican food. Like I used to get this dish of Mexican food that was mussels and shrimp and peppers, and it was called panea, if I'm not mistaken. I'm probably butchering that, but it was so damn delicious. Manhattans are okay. I'm not big into the whole margaritas and that kind of stuff. I'm not big into gin. I like a gin and tonic maybe, but Canadian's natural cocktail is a Bloody Caesar, the same as a Bloody Mary, but made with Mott's Kamada. Oh, instead of tomato juice. Not my favorite, but I enjoy them from time to time. That's what they put in. That's what they use down here to make red beers. They use Clamato for red beer. Yeah. Hi, Lawrence. By the way, somebody come in. Somebody keep me. You don't have to come in, but if you want to come in, the link's there to join. But I know you guys are saying to listen in the background, which is nice. But I'm not a fan of Red Bull. A red beer. I'm not a fan of anything with Red Bull either. Actually, they make Red Bull and vodka. I'm not a fan of Red Bull vodka and cranberry. I think I'm not a fan of. But I do like Mai Tais. All right. So, anyways, back to the whole Jesus commercialization thing. What do you guys think on that? I'm kind of curious. Do you guys think that my analysis is way off? That the ad was just, I think, tone deaf, and I don't think they can make an argument. It was to promote Christianity as much as promote their ideological beliefs, because they want money for donations to promote things that I find to be morally detestable. The whole reason I left the Mormon Church is because they were funding Prop 8 in 2008. They were funding, against gay marriage. I'm like, why the hell is this any of the church's business? Goddess Governor says Hovind claims you two owe some $68,000. They haven't paid. Maybe that's why Kent couldn't pay you. Or Kyle couldn't pay you because YouTube was holding out. Yeah, maybe. Look, Kent sued the government for what, $4 billion? I'll get you in here in a second, Lawrence. One sec. Lawrence,
How's it going?
how are you, my sexy beast?
How you doing, baby?
Yeah. How's life in the whole Milwaukee world?
Oh, it's usual trash
Yeah.
as expected.
Yeah. Oh my God. Well, it's not as bad as like Chicago and Detroit right now.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
Dude, and see, our Seattle. Oh my God, these cities have been. The cops are letting these people just destroy the city, and they're not doing a damn thing about it.
I haven't really been keeping up,
Yeah.
honestly.
Are you sick? You sound like you're congested or something.
No. This is just my normal I've been smoking voice.
Oh, you've been bonging it. Gotcha. Okay, that's what it is.
No, man, I'm smoking my hookah 24/7.
Bonging. That's a hookah. Okay, look, a hookah is just a fancy name for bong, just because it's water in there instead, and tobacco.
Oh, so cool thing happened today. I was in the library, and
you read?
I read. What? Hello. So I needed. I was working on this project. I'm doing one on Akhenaten. And do you know who that is?
Akhenaten, Egyptian pharaoh.
Yeah, first monotheist.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm doing my Egyptology project on him. And funny part about this class, I took a course with this professor before, and I made a video for that class last time. And now she is using that video in her course material.
Oh my God, dude, how cool is that?
That's something. I don't know. It's something.
I've had people tell me they have with some of my stuff. I don't know if it's true or not, but I remember years ago, somebody was like, "Yeah, I used something you did in one of my presentations or classwork or something." I don't know.
Nice.
I don't know. I do know this though. I wrote a program when I was in a computer class, and it was a Rolodex program, and it was a database program. So it would take names and stuff like that. And you got to remember, back in these days, these were old computer days. This was like 93, right? 94, I think it was. Computers weren't as powerful as they are now, right? Wasn't as bad as the 80s, but I mean, still, in the early 90s, they weren't that powerful computers. And so I was using BASIC, and then it was a program that I wrote in Visual Basic, and then I converted over, if I remember correctly. But anyways, the task was for the final just write a very simple program to do a database stuff. I did all these graphics using ASCII. I did this huge thing. You had a you'll be like, okay, enter one, and you push one, and then you goes into, okay, you can search by the name, you can search by the address, and you can edit it, and it would look like a Rolodex card. And so he used it in the next year as an example of a final project, which I thought was pretty cool. Is that your kitty?
It is, yeah. His name is Jericho, after one of the greatest wrestlers of all time.
Jericho. I remember wrestler Jericho.
Yeah, Chris Jericho. He's badass. No, so
so your video is now going to be incorporated in the curriculum?
The one that I did on the ancient Egyptian afterlife is, yeah. And so I asked for permission to make a video for this course as well.
Nice.
And she's like, yeah, that's totally cool. And I am decided to do it on Akhenaten. And what I really wanted to do was talk about the development of monotheism in the New Kingdom. And it was a gradual process from what I'm finding out. It wasn't just like, flip a switch. His dad, Amenhotep III, was already calling himself during his lifetime like the radiant sun disk and stuff like that. So there's potential that that Akhenaten's monotheism
he was the first to kind of go against the Egyptian gods, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. See, with all the other guys,
I think you taught me that a while back. Actually, I think it's something I watched on your channel, if I'm mistaken.
Oh shit, maybe.
Yeah, probably.
It's such a cool piece of history. So I think that in part it was probably like some sort of ancestor worship, honestly. But he excluded the other gods, which his family up until that point in the New Kingdom did not do. And even though they were kind of already deifying themselves in ways that in other kingdoms they did not. And what I needed in the library was uh, it was basically the early notes and uh, pictures of the first excavations of Deir el Bahari, and they have a first edition in my library, in my school library, and like because it's so old, it's from 1894 or something. Because it's so old, they have a viewing room. Did you know that? Did you
Yeah,
know
I know what a
that they
viewing
have
room.
fucking viewing rooms? I
Yes,
didn't know that was a thing.
yes, and you have to wear white gloves too. In those.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do,
They
do,
didn't.
do they make you wear gloves?
No, they didn't
Because
make me wear
some places
gloves.
do, and you have a viewing
Makes
room.
sense.
You can't check it out. It's not like a book you can check out, but it's a special room that you have to like it's special handling for those
Yeah,
books. Yeah, of
yeah.
course.
Like you can't pick them up. Like you
Right,
can flip through the pages, you can't pick them up. You can't have food or drinks in there.
right.
It
They're very
totally makes
controlled.
sense.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely makes sense.
yeah.
Yes.
But like I didn't
Can
know
you
that
imagine
they
the
had.
Catholics had a viewing room to their collections? Can you
Oh,
imagine?
that'd be dope. That'd be
Right?
dope.
They opened up all their archives. I don't know why they're so secretive.
Dude, I go through that
So
so
you're in the
fast.
viewing room and you found something that you was like, oh my God, I made a discovery.
No, it wasn't Discovery, but it was really cool because it was actually the wrong volume. But but because they only have the one volume, so it was still interesting to go through and read some of these early notes.
That's awesome. Man, I would be amazed. I would love if there was a philosophy of religion class one time where, the stuff we talked about ever came up and like my name was mentioned with like the whole, like agnostic atheist thing or, just any of the stuff that I write about. That would be, oh my God, it would be like just blown away, you know, if anybody
That
ever
would be
cites,
really
if
great.
somebody cites my paper would be amazing too. I know one person did a refutation on it, but Landon and I went through and it was so bad. They did it on research.net. But I mean, I just to have somebody cite my paper would just be the best thing that I could imagine. It'd be like, it's a little thing like that, right? It's just a little thing, just a simple citation, but you're like, fuck. So can you imagine if they cited you, you know,
That would be pretty sweet. I mean, I have been cited before.
UFO 2020,
Chris Hansen,
yeah.
uh, they did a
It,
paper on mythicism in
Typical
Soviet
history
Russia.
skeptic or whatever his name was.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, whatever happened to him. All I know is he turned against me
Well,
for no reason, and I was like, okay, whatever, man. He was totally cool with me, and all of a sudden he started calling me things like
yeah.
transphobe, and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Okay, well, I don't know where transphobe came from.
Yeah,
I mean, I think there was something else. But
yeah.
so yeah, they are trans, so going by she. Uh, so
I thought she went by either. That was
well, I mean, I know that they still work. Last time I talked to them, though, it was she.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, that goes back and forth because she told me she didn't care either way.
Yeah, I'm not sure. That's just from last time I talked to them.
You never know, right? But it was just so stupid because I don't even know what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah, either way.
I literally had no idea. But anyways,
Yeah,
thing.
so the citation was so she needed a translation done of a source that was only in Russian.
Mhm.
So she just cited that the translation was by me. So that was something kind of neat.
Yeah. Yeah, and by the way, Chris Hansen is not the Chris Hansen you're thinking of out on the outside. Chris Hansen is also is a person that was in the community, known as biblical history skeptic, if I remember correctly. Yeah, that was ages ago. Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Yeah, I think they just found the community too toxic eventually. So
I think
I totally get that.
yeah, it seemed like she made the community toxic because I didn't know what the hell she was going off on. I really had no idea. I was like, I can't fix anything if I don't even know what the hell your issue is. And she wrote some big long like blog about me. And I'm like, none of this is even true. I was like, you didn't even ask me about this, and nothing in this is true.
I mean, ultimately, I don't want to be a mediator.
No, I didn't even still talk to her. So whatever.
No, it was just like one thing. Like
Yeah.
she sent me an email once about the paper being released soon.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Have you ever published anything to academic edu?
No, I didn't really. I mean, I could actually publish a thing.
I mean, people will say, well, it's not peer review, and but the problem is that one, they still have some kind of standard. People can report papers that are not of appropriate level.
Oh, that's something. Okay,
Yeah.
because I've seen garbage on there.
Yeah, you can still report stuff. And let me get this person here real quick.
Yeah. I wrote a paper.
Do I know this
for-
person? It says Chris, but I don't think it's that Chris. But Who's this? Do I know this person? I'll find it in a second. 1 second, and I'll bring him in here. Um, Hi, Chris. Who's this?
Oh,
Oh my god.
Oh, it's Christopher. Oh,
yeah, dude, sorry.
oh, okay.
I didn't realize my camera was back there.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Did-
So real quick, the academic EU, they do have some kind of standards, but the same token, you're not going to get somebody with a shitty paper that's like thousands of views. You know?
Right, yeah. So I wrote this paper recently for so the class I was taking, it was called Vengeance for Beginners, and it was basically just about Greco-Roman views on vengeance or revenge, anger, stuff like that. So we had to read quite a few things for it. One of the best things that I read for it was actually Medea, the Greek play.
Yeah, I know of the play. I don't remember the.
It's really good. Medea has like actual reasons why she goes bad, like why she uh in my vernacular, why she went heel. And every step of the way you can understand why she would be mad. And then she just ramps up her anger because nobody is fucking getting it. And at the end, because like Medea, I think she was the granddaughter of Apollo.
Mhm.
No, of Helios, I think. And uh, she, after killing her family and her ex-husband's new wife and his new stepdad, after she murders all of them, she pops up on this on the chariot of the sun god, and she rides away. And I'm like, you fucking remind them who the fuck you are. Damn right. And it was so good. But anyways, for this course, I wrote a paper on the murder of Herodes, which is a murder trial from ancient Greece. I'm going to do a video on that, by the way. I have all my notes here for it. It's pretty much ready to go. I just have to actually record it and make the video. But I wrote the paper essentially on how the prosecution was just trying to get back at Herodes. No, sorry, not Herodes. At Euxithius, the defendant, who Antiphon is writing the speech for. How the prosecution was trying to get back at Euxithius for and his dad for basically being part of the Mytilene revolt, which was a failed revolt. But it's I could submit my paper on that, like not submit it, right? I could just publish it on there.
That'd be interesting. It reminds me of something that the only the Greek thing that I ever had to actually forced to learn, I guess. I mean, I took a course. It was an English type course, and we had to read about Antigone. Do you remember the story of Antigone in Greek mythology?
Not really.
She had a brother that that died in a battle, and I don't remember the reason why, but the brother, the law said that they couldn't mourn his passing. He couldn't mourn the loss of her brother, and so she stepped up to the Greeks and was mourning his loss. And it was just like, obviously you went to the whole big Greek tragedy stuff, like the king and the I don't remember like the deeds. The only deeds I remember is that she was trying to mourn her brother and they wouldn't let her, but it was called Antigone. And they wouldn't give her her brother a proper burial. And so she fought the Greeks, the hierarchy to try to get him properly buried. I don't remember why he couldn't be buried. Everybody remembers the story of Antigone, but that was the only Greek thing that I was even have to like looked into. And I was like, oh my God, this is boring me to death. No offense. I was like, I don't remember any. I was like, I just, all the Greek names are just like, I don't know. I get them all confused and they're like also tragic. Every one of them, they all got daddy issues.
That is true.
Or mommy
everyone
issues.
does have daddy issues.
Yeah, or mommy.
Definitely not wrong.
Oedipus.
Can I hold on? So in chat they're talking about why Akhenaten was portrayed differently in sculptures from other Egyptian kings. So the reason that has been explained to me from both the books that I have read and from my art history course was that he wanted to portray like a much more realistic kind of person. Like, so he was going much closer to what he would have actually looked like. And the reason for that is, yeah, partly because, he doesn't want to, um, probably because he doesn't want to stand out from the other sculptures. They were kind of the other pharaohs and shit. Like, if you look at sculptures of them, they're like these manly men, and they are in their prime, and they are big beefy boys, and they are tough, and they are big hunks of man meat.
Say that
And
again. Say big beefy boys.
big beefy boys
big
with
hunks of
hunk and man meat.
Yes.
Yeah, good stuff. And so he didn't
You just
want
turned on half my audience.
good. I sure fucking hope so. So I turned myself on a little bit.
Right? Yeah. Hang on. Give me a moment.
Yeah, so that was kind of the reason that was described to me. But I'm actually going more into that because I feel like with the transition, especially once you get to Amenhotep III, his dad, you can already kind of see the transition. Like, there's a much more realistic bust of Queen Tai. Usually when you have people in their prime, they wouldn't have like wrinkles and stuff, but this bust of Queen Tai does have the wrinkles. So to me, that's like, okay, there's already a transition to
away from the god type status, like immortality or like being holy or being perfect.
no, because the thing is, they because Akhenaten thought that the Aten, the one god, was to be identified with him.
Mhm.
And his dad, same thing.
Oh, he was the manifestation of that god in human form.
Yeah, basically. And so it could have been like, you don't want to, I mean, this is just hypothetical or conjectural, but he could have been like, oh, you don't want to taint the form of this god with.
But was he the
like,
was he?
flesh.
It was Adam.
No, the Aten. Aten.
One sec. One sec. One sec. Oh, dang it.
I'm
Right,
just so bad
there.
at this. Professional streamer.
I'm using StreamYards. Yeah, hey Rod.
Hello. Happy birthday. I assume it's your birthday.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Oh, that's right. Happy birthday.
Yes.
Here's a drink. I'm going to drink it.
Have a
in
drink
your
for
name.
me. Yeah, I was going to go out tonight, but I got too late, and I haven't heard anything. Probably the best because it wasn't good last year on my birthday. I might go out on a better night that I can enjoy myself more because I got to work tomorrow. And people sent some super chats for alcohol, so I'm going to go buy a fufu fancy drink with it sometime the next.
Ooh.
Yeah. I don't know.
Nothing wrong with a girly drink.
I don't think so. I don't need to flex my, what did you call it? Massive
Man meat.
Man
Yeah.
meat.
Oh yeah, just fucking Jack and Coke, bro. Like, I'm not one of those guys. Like, if I want something to taste good,
I like
there's
Jack and
nothing wrong
Coke though. A lot actually. Jack and Coke's good.
you know the type though, where it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's gonna hurt. I'm like, why does it have to hurt?
No.
Sometimes it can
No.
just be delicious.
Right.
Yeah, I've been making a lot of sex on the beaches recently. Those things are so good.
Yeah,
You guys ever
Yeah.
had sex on the beach?
I love sex on the beach.
Sounds
Yes.
They're
So
so delicious. They're one of my favorite drinks actually, but they're
Like,
very
it's so
they're
simple.
expensive. Yeah, orange juice, vodka.
Yeah, orange juice, vodka, peach schnapps, and
yeah.
cranberry juice.
It's good.
So good.
Yeah, no, they are one of my favorite drinks. There's something called do you have an adios motherfucker?
I haven't actually had one of those.
Yeah, and they also have what's
I've
called,
heard of it.
Sounds cool too.
Yeah, they have those, and they will mess you up. And then they have what's called a oh my god, what's the name of the drink? Oh my god, I hang on, I gotta think of the name of it because I know what the other version is. I'll think of it in a second, but they have a weird name drink down here. I'll see if you guys know it. I'll think of it. But anyways, go on real quick. Maybe I'll go look it up. What's it called?
Sure. I actually can't drink right now. My health does not allow it. I will die.
Well, that's not good.
Which is very difficult because all of my members on my server are alcoholics.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so like it's I'm drinking this cider, I'm drinking this Oktoberfest or fucking whatever, and I'm like, I'm drinking flavored water, eating a cucumber.
Oh, I got it. I got it.
Hey,
I got it. I got it. So there's a drink that down here. It's called a red-headed slut. Right? And it's Jägermeister and peach schnapps. Now, and there's a
Oh
variation.
yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah, there's a variation of it called the Lindsay Lohan. And Lindsay Lohan is a redheaded slut, basically. It just had Coke.
Dang.
Just had Coke. Get it? Get it?
that is really funny,
So
actually.
they're big down here. You go into a bar and you say, "Can I get a Lindsay Lohan?" And you get a redheaded slut with Coke. Yeah.
Is it a drink that makes you plow through a dozen people with a sedan?
Oh yeah, these are not the lighthearted.
If so, maybe I should drink them.
Did you hear the word Jägermeister? Yeah.
I'm a danger to society.
As soon as you have
No,
Jägermeister,
I think it was she ran over like 7 people. I don't think she killed anybody.
I'll turn down the gain a little bit. It's because you got a really high gain, so I'll put it on my end. See, is that better? Stupid horror energy. I turned down the gain a little bit.
What a hater.
She's a hater. Yeah, Sarah's a hater, man. Yeah.
Oh,
Hater
Don't
Sarah,
hate.
but I love Sarah.
it is not so good.
But by the
Hey,
way,
I got
hi
a
Sarah.
question for you guys. So in this case that I'm covering, there's a comment that to me kind of sounds like self-incrimination, but I don't know if there's like a specific type of self-incrimination that this is.
For what? What case?
So, and the thing is, I need someone who's better with legal stuff than.
I was actually searching through legal documents that I found by accident earlier. What is it?
All right, so here's the quote. Let me. Oh yeah, here it is. Okay. So a little bit of context here. At this point, the prosecution had tortured and killed a slave, and initially, the slave had said, "No, this guy is innocent," but then they tortured him, and then he's like, "Oh yes, he totally did it." And then, when according to Antiphon, when he wasn't granted his freedom for that, he recanted his confession. So here is the quote, which I personally translated. But even still, they say these things, that while being tortured, the slave admitted that he killed Herodes together with me. But I say that he certainly did not say this, but that he led the man and I, that he said that he led the man and I away from the ship, and that the man was killed by me immediately, and that he threw him into the sea after taking him and putting him into the ship together with me. Now, if that kind of correction, right? He's like correcting what the confession was, but he wasn't there for the confession. He wouldn't be there for the confession. So correcting it like that sounds like, well, first of all, it is self-incriminating, right? Like if
Yeah,
that happened in a court
definitely.
case today, that would be like that guy's pretty sus. Like,
Very sus, bro.
yeah. So how could, like, yeah, I don't know how this case was tried, because there's no official ending to this court case. We do have one reference later, and when I say later, I mean 800 years later, where the guy says that the case was ruled a hold on, I had to translate that one too, because there was no English translation.
Was it a mistrial?
No,
Basically,
well, no, because they didn't have a mistrial, right? That wasn't a thing that they had.
yeah.
So yeah, here's the one quote: Euxithius and Herodes were sailing together. Euxithius was found sleeping next to Blood and accused of villainy, for he had established the guise, which means he set up the he had basically made it like a perfect crime scene, right? Like, cleaned it up or something, but it doesn't really say cleaned it up. He established the guise in order that he does not incur a penalty and in order not to be judged. However, the murder was proven. That reference is 800 years later. Not only is it the only reference to the defendant's name that we have, but it's also the only reference in the ancient world to the ending of the case. And people seem to be very happy with taking the name Euxithius. It shouldn't really matter what the guy's name was. But then they don't take the ending of the case from this guy. So, I mean, this is like a whole dissertation thing, but
Yeah, you got a whole lot of paper there.
yeah.
It seems like there's a lot to it.
So it's yeah, I don't know. It's been quite the slog. Like that's going to be something I'm going to look into after. Like why did he say that his name is Euxithius? That the guy 800 years after the case have better sources than we do, or was he just making it up for his argument because it's in the greater context of another argument about Alexander, I think. So I'm not sure, but I'm gonna look into that more. But the quote that I read before sounds, it's self-incriminating, right? But is there like a name for that kind of self-incrimination?
Self-own?
I don't know.
What'd you say, Steve?
It's
Self-own? By the way, Sarah says she's
Self-own.
drunk and on crack or coke. I'm sorry. What's the difference?
Oh, God.
Yeah, Coke. Get it right, Steve.
They're the same thing. One's just more expensive.
I have no
Yeah.
idea.
But all I want,
not a fan of either myself.
I want Sarah to come in and say hi to us. It's my birthday. I get my wishes. I want Sarah to come in.
Hi, Sarah.
I have not had Sarah on stream in a very long time.
Jackie Coke. Oh, you
So.
don't need that.
Yeah, hell of a stream, dude.
Come on, Sarah.
Ja-
Your audience.
Pure pressure.
Jack and crack.
But that's been essentially my life. I've been doing that and then other projects. So
Of course, the problem with having
Really cool,
Sarah
dude.
on,
So
you
you're
never.
going to college for this stuff, you mean?
yeah, but also like because I make YouTube videos. This is
Yeah,
gonna
oh,
be
yeah.
Is this for your masters? Or?
no.
No.
Well, I'm just saying it's super cool.
It's
Bachelor-
I don't know if it's
What do you want, bachelors?
Yeah, I'm going for a bachelor's in religious studies right now. Although my religious studies teacher was like, "You should get a master's." So he's actually going to help me with some stuff related to that
That'd be
because
cool, dude.
it's really interesting. So like I got to talking with him about this stuff, and he is a pastor. But he made it very clear. He was very adamant about in the classroom, you just keep the scholarship, straight scholarship, leave his own religion out of it. And he's been doing that the whole time, and I respect the hell out of that. We're gonna have him on the show in a couple weeks, which I think would be really cool.
Yeah.
And like he even said that I can use one of the videos I have already made as the final project for that class, because he's like, you know what, you already put the work in for this. Why
Hello.
do more?
Oh, cool.
Hey,
Hello.
by the way, hey Sparkle, and hey Red. Neither of you are Sarah. I know the difference.
Are you sure?
Both of you guys have such distinctive voices that I can tell it's not Sarah. Because every time Sarah comes into a
Yeah.
hangout, I have to demonetize it. I mean,
Doesn't sound like a Sarah.
yeah, Sparkle doesn't definitely not sound like Sarah. But yeah, you never know what you get with Sarah when she comes in. Like I said, she's when she's cracked out of her mind, it's great.
So is Sarah your girlfriend or something?
No, Sarah's my mod. Sarah.
Okay, but she can be your mod and your girlfriend, no?
True.
Hey, I would be down for that. Sarah's hot, but Sarah's
I
also
gotta keep the options open.
yeah. Sarah's highly taken though, but I've known Sarah for
Highly taken,
I know
not
Sa-
just taken,
highly-
highly taken.
Yeah, I've known Sarah almost probably as long as I know
Very
Reds. I've known Sarah a long time.
Who?
It,
Sarah's
it, I,
who? Reds?
Oh God, he couldn't do that
I
good.
don't know.
Have you seen what Reds look like? You can't. No, he has no hope. He has no
Oh
shot.
wow.
No
I was
shot.
I was
Dang.
made very offended today. When I was out shopping, someone called me a sexy slut, and I go, "Slut? Yeah." Well, hang on. My response was, "Slut? Yes. Sexy? Don't do that. Don't give me hope."
Were they looking for their glasses at the same time?
I mean, you know what they say. Red's face has been banned for like in all 50 states. The man cannot go down the street without having to wear.
I think it's still legal in I think it's still legal in Alaska, but who the fuck wants to live in Alaska?
Yeah,
No,
but
I personally think it's illegal. It's illegal in all 50 states.
Do you like grizzly bears and gigantic mosquitoes?
Yeah,
Come to Alaska.
20 degrees.
I'm recognizing this voice. Athena.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
look at that! I was right.
Yeah, that's Athena.
I like you, long-haired guy. You're pleasant to listen to. You went through that whole speech without saying like. as like language stuffing.
It's called vocalized pauses. Yes.
I hate when people like just draw out stuff that they're trying to say where it takes so fucking long for them to get it out of their mouth that I just get pissed off.
Yeah.
Hey, some people have trouble speaking like me. Okay, I started like a fucking.
You're just high as shit always. That's why.
No, I'm not. Okay, I just stutter. Okay, you little fucker. I still remember that fucking day when you came in the Kaiser's stream or whatever the fuck. Because I invited you.
You know what I mean, though. It's like people I just sort of like.
They're called vocalized pauses.
The people who say like fucking, you know what I'm saying?
You know,
yes,
you're
I
like,
know what you were saying.
I think we know what you are saying.
Yeah. Well, what they do is
no. My favorite to say is, you know what I mean. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
It's like, yeah, I just fucking heard you.
The vocalized pauses to give people a chance to like regroup their thoughts, right? So when you say something or yeah, you know,
gives me a chance to want to knock their fucking front teeth out.
You know,
like it annoys me to no end.
When I used to do the podcast for Non Sequitur, I had to literally go in and edit out from Kyle, and I got so good at it that I recognized the waveform. Because you have the audio portion waveform, and so I seriously, I'm not even funny. This is not bullshit.
It's language.
I know
absolutely
you're not.
True. I can literally go. Oh, there's an right there, and I went to that section. Cut it out and spliced it together. This is why if you go look at the podcast and the video, the podcast is cleaner because I edited out all those vocalized pauses.
So you could probably make like a 20-minute long video of just like
Yeah, but who the come on.
Do you guys not notice how many times Kyle would use a vocalized pause?
I never really watched the show, so I didn't. I wouldn't know.
Here's a great idea, Steve. Have only the and then do auto tune on that shit, and then it could be like you could have an entire music video going. I
could do it like Bohemian Rhapsody. You know, I
actually talked to him before I knew you.
I love.
I talked to him on Facebook. I think he thought I was trying to fuck him or something like that.
That's right.
Like I was just like, oh, cool. I can talk to someone that I saw on the internet.
That sounds about
I don't know.
right.
I think he took it the wrong way.
Giggity.
So, anyways, real quick, Red's had some streams lately that were of interest. Well, I was going to ask him because he was supposed to have this one flat earther that came on. The guy didn't show, so he had another flat earther came on. But because the other person didn't show, he decided to make the video unlisted because the original YouTuber didn't show, but somebody else did. So you still had a show. So what was the point of unlisting?
Well, actually, a bit of an update on that. The guy actually did show up, but it was on a Twitter space, not the YouTube live. So that was a thing. And the reason why I made that video unlisted was because, in my opinion, it was boring as shit. And I've already spoken.
Flat Earth is boring as shit.
Well, I already had a conversation with Effed Up World. It was the same regurgitated garbage that I already showed to my audience.
Shocker. Wait, flat earthers regurgitate the same shit? Oh my God, say it ain't so.
Yeah, but other flat earthers have a different packaging for said shit. And so if I am reintroducing the same shit in the same package, there's nothing new there. At least with other flat earthers, new flat earthers, the packaging is going to be totally different. You know, sometimes they'll deliver the shit with fireworks. This one only has a shit-crusted bow on top of the actual lump of shit. It's like, hey, listen, if you had a choice between a shit sandwich and a shit sandwich with guac, but you would choose the guac because the guac is brand new. That's something you haven't had before, even though in reality, the lack of guac wasn't really your fucking complaint.
Hey. If you have not tried a shit sandwich with guac, then you got no room to judge.
They got no room to judge, exactly. So,
yeah.
Well, to me,
basically,
it's the same
what I'm saying
is that on French bread? Because
I hate both of those things.
Maybe on French bread.
It has to be on wheat.
A bag of red.
It's on the
Don't come in here with your
rejected
French bread heresy.
It's on the rejected bread that you can get at any Subway restaurant at your local area. But to be fair, the real reason why that video was unlisted is because it didn't meet my subjective standards.
That's cool. No, that's, I mean, you do you.
Hey.
It was pretty dull because that guy was so, well, I mean, it goes without saying they're stupid, but I mean, he was like next level. I mean, he's one of those people that would not change his mind no matter what because he just couldn't understand the concepts.
No. Can y'all hear me?
No, he understands the concepts. He actually understands the concepts very well. The reason why he will never change is because the Bible will always be his go-to. Yeah. And because he honestly believes that the Bible says the earth is flat, it doesn't matter what evidence you bring because the evidence is going to take a back seat when it comes to Bible.
Yeah, I used to think the same way.
Yeah, so the Bible is always going to come first. If you have evidence and that evidence contradicts the Bible, then your evidence is wrong by default.
Like Chris, I mean, you were one of those people that nothing can contradict the Bible, but you didn't get the flat Earth. You were just young as creationist.
Yeah, I wasn't flat Earth. I was a geocentrist though.
Oof. Hey, you're out of that.
So close, so almost flat Earth territory.
I mean, yeah. No, that's definitely deep into flat Earth territory, man. It's like equal, at least. I mean,
the thing about the Bible is that it doesn't.
I would say geocentrism made sense at the time based on the information they had. Flat Earth doesn't make sense.
Well, the thing is, so at the time in the ancient Near East, everyone believed the Earth was flat at the time, and yes, that is true. Everyone in the Because if we take a look at when the Bible would have actually been written, not the New Testament so much, but the Old Testament definitely, they absolutely, everyone in the region, everyone in their surrounding cultures,
4,000 years BC they would have, right? In 4,000 BC, would they not have been flat?
But I'm talking about like 500 BC.
Okay.
So in that time period, everyone in Mesopotamia, everyone from Assyria, Babylon, even the Persians, they accepted it, the flat Earth. So the Bible was working off the assumption of a flat Earth, but there doesn't really seem, there's one point where it kind of seems like they're talking about a flat Earth if you choose to interpret it that way. But even then, it could be viewed in a different context entirely. So I mean, it really depends on.
No, I think a lot of them actually probably did, especially it wasn't until later on they started, doing their own experiments and getting educated. And then, it became pretty well known that the Earth wasn't flat. It didn't seem to affect them. But I definitely see how geocentrism could be more predominant as back then because, again, you can make the Earth the center of everything. That's actually, completely done using mathematics. So to say the Earth is the center of the universe is not incorrect as far as like if you want to make the Earth the center of the universe, but so is every other point.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, just think about it. Just think about it from their perspective at the time, right? Like they are from their perspective, the Earth was standing still.
Yeah.
Right. While everything
the heavens are rotated around it.
Yeah.
Cynthia Vicious says, "Hey Steve, happy birthday! Thank you. I had a stroke at night 5 months ago. Not 5 months before I turned 50 in December, and woke up in the hospital with my left side paralyzed. I've been nursing home ever since. Damn, man, that sucks. Yeah. I've always been worried about that kind of stuff, especially as older, right? So I'm far more cognizant of my health now than I ever have been. I definitely eat better, and my diet is much better. And so
you don't eat you don't eat lobster rolls again.
I love my lobster rolls. I just haven't been able to go and get any. No, I eat a lot more salad, I ate more fiber in my diet. Look, when you get older, let me give you a tip: eat fiber. You'll thank me later.
You should eat fiber. You should eat fiber your entire life.
I know,
but so not just.
I know, but I'm serious. Later on in your life is even more important. Eat fiber. You'll thank me later.
Yeah.
You should thank me now.
You know what's so funny is a lot of stuff I didn't really eat before I like now. I wasn't a huge fan of salads at one time. Now I love them, man. You give me a nice romaine lettuce and even some iceberg, throw in some mild cheddar on top with salt and pepper and olive oil.
Stop. It's too late.
Or avocado oil. No, it's not. I had some chips earlier. I haven't eaten anything today.
Let me go ahead and.
I 1 a.m.
I figured I was going to go out tonight and get food.
Let me hijack the stream real quick.
Go
I'll
ahead.
answer the previous question you had, Steve, or
Yeah.
maybe you didn't ask this question. I'm just going to assume you did, and I'm going to go from there.
Go.
So, the flat earther that was supposed to show up on my YouTube channel didn't show up, obviously. So I went with a backup plan, I guess, and that's where Effed Up World came in, the Bible thumper who believes the Earth is flat because Bible. Well, after a very, very long Twitter dispute, I was able to convince the guy to come on into a Twitter space where I would prevent anyone else from speaking. It would just be me and him. And to my surprise, he wasn't a complete douchebag. So he was asking for evidence that wasn't from NASA of the existence of the International Space Station and evidence showing that the ISS is in space doing space shit. And I was able to show him not one, but two of my videos where I measured the altitude, size, and speed of the space station. And the fucker accepted it.
Get out.
Wow.
I was like,
Why was the
wait, you're
Wow.
not
Yeah.
just going to call me a government shill and dismiss it?
You know,
Am I having a fucking
But
am
how-
I high right now?
But how strong could it be? Okay, you know, it's so funny because there's a whole, believe it or not, there's a whole subject dedicated to this in philosophy, Reds, on when to change your opinion. It's a theory.
I'm not surprised.
It's a theories of disagreement. There's many different theories of disagreement of when you should modify and what confidence level you should modify your beliefs on. This is a really a newer subject in philosophy too, and it's very fascinating on the thesis they have. But how strong could he have been to modify his belief such a way that some YouTuber or whatever said, "Hey, here's some videos on it. Now you've changed your mind." He couldn't have had that much entrenched into believing what he believed, because you've noticed with the flat earthers, they seriously are like diehard. You need, I mean, if God told them that it was wrong, they would disagree.
Well, Steve, let me throw this at you.
Mhm.
Apparently, he had a how do I say? He had criteria that one would have to meet.
Okay.
So, for example, he wanted whatever evidence that was produced to him to not come from NASA, because NASA is evil and they torture babies and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
screw NASA. They suck. SpaceX.
Yeah. So he said you had to do your own observation. You had to confirm that the ISS was a thing through your observation, and none of your information could come from NASA. He already wanted those things in particular. So when I showed up and I provided him with those things, he was like, well, holy shit, you did it. You crazy son of a bitch, you actually did it.
Wow.
And you didn't do it once, you did it twice? Wow.
Hey,
Yeah,
so Reds,
yeah, it's like I got
Reds,
some stuff here. One sec. I'm getting people in here.
so that sorry, I'm just gonna let.
Yeah, I just
Other ones
I
say.
had to read the comments here for a section. Can man, I messed up my thing here.
I will
wants-
shut up for John.
Yeah, John wants to come in for a second, and I just saw that. So, but I messed up my thing here. So go ahead and talk while I fix this.
So yeah, I did have a question, Reds. I know a while ago you and a whole bunch of other people ran this experiment where you were, people from all around the Earth were tracking the sun at the same time, right? And then you guys mapped it out, and you guys showed that it was all coming from the same point, right? The same direction.
That was the observation of Slice Barcane, and
Slice
what that was is you would wait until solar noon, and then you would measure the altitude angle of the sun from wherever you were on the Earth.
Gotcha. Okay, so is there? Okay, so I guess you said there. I have ran into some flat earthers. So, and I really wanted to link them to this video, but I had no idea where it was.
Yeah, I can send that to you, but if you want to find the channel it's on, it's Sly, SLY, and then Sparkane, which is, actually, let me type that out to you right now. All right, there it is. I put it in the side chat right now.
Okay.
There you go, SLY, not SKY. Force of habit. So,
All right, well, I appreciate it, because I have been looking for this because to me this was like the best evidence uh, from all of the flat Earth discussions I have watched. This was probably the best demonstration of
Yeah, there's actually 3 really good, easily digestible videos that you can show people. The first one is Sly Sparkane's video where he, wanted volunteers from all over the planet to observe the sun. The other one is the video I made about the equatorial telescope mount. Now, long story short, what that means is if you were to assume that the Earth was flat in any shape, whether it's flat from left to right, whether it has a central point on the North Pole, or even if you want to make it reverse, the South Pole, it doesn't matter. If the surface of the Earth is flat in any way, shape, or form, then an equatorial telescope mount would not work as it does in reality. In order to track any celestial object, you would have to rotate 2 axes of rotation, when in reality, you only have to spin one of them bitches, and it works just fine. And the third one is the angular size of the sun. On a flat Earth, in order for it to match with the Eratosthenes observation, the sun has to be no more than 5,000 to 6,000 kilometers in altitude, and that would make the sun around 65 kilometers wide. But if you were to follow the sun over the equator as it would be on the equinox, we would expect, via the law of perspective, for the sun to grow in size and then shrink again to the size it was when it rose. So it would rise at one angular size, grow to twice as big midday, and then shrink again when it got to sunset. I tracked the sun all day fucking long while a fucking hurricane was barreling down on my ass, just so I can say that this motherfucker who was wrong on the internet was wrong on the internet. And people were thinking, am I crazy, and was that a colossal waste of time, and do I regret it? The answer is yes, I was crazy. Was it a colossal waste of time? Absolutely. Do I regret it? Not a fucking chance in hell.
So real quick,
Yeah,
I don't understand why they just don't get an equatorial telescope and use one and see that how it works. I mean, I've had an equatorial mount, and especially if a computer program, how do they think that computer program tracks things if it's not equatorial?
Equatorial mount me, daddy.
I mean, yeah,
that's a great
daddy,
thing.
equatorial mount me.
Effed Up World actually owns an equatorial telescope mount. Effed Up World uses Stellarium, which uses the accepted heliocentric model to make all of its predictions.
Yeah.
He accepts all of that, but he says that it's still wrong because Bible.
Yeah. Well, at that point, you're not dealing with somebody that's dealing with evidence. Anyways,
Isn't
hi,
there
John.
Hi, Steve. Happy birthday,
Thank
you
you.
beautiful
Thank you.
beast, you.
Thank you.
Just wondering, you should do a poll to figure out what the optimum age for a DILF is.
Dilf.
Reds, just quickly, bud. Wasn't there a guy who sort of like thousands of years ago measured the equator of the Earth by digging 2 holes a couple of miles apart and putting a stick in them and observing the shadow change?
I was
So-
thinking
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the Eratosthenes observation that I mentioned. What happened was that he had a stick in Alexandria, and there was a well in Syene. And during the summer solstice at noon, you could see all the way down the well, all the way to the bottom, which means the sun was right overhead.
Directly
But
overhead,
if you were in the city of Alexandria, about 800 kilometers away, you would see that the stick had a shadow, so clearly the sun wasn't directly overhead. By knowing the distance between the stick and the well, and by measuring the angle of that shadow, he calculated the circumference of the Earth, because he was a rich fuck that paid some poor bastard to literally walk and measure the distance. I'm sorry, you want me to do what now?
Hundreds of
I'm
miles?
paying you to walk
Yeah.
and measure 800 fucking kilometers between these 2 cities.
The only thing I had, the only query I had with that, Reds, that I must have missed somewhere along the line, is given the era at which we're talking about, the only way that observation makes sense is if you can be looking down both of those holes at exactly the same time.
No,
But
they
use
were done a year apart.
Yeah, it was.
What I mean is
it was
the
during-
same time of the day is what I mean. But didn't they use the sun to determine time of day and position on the planet changes with
Well,
the position?
Well,
You see what I mean?
it was the summer solstice at noon. So basically, what that means is that if you were to look
No,
at
that makes
the
sense. That makes sense. Now you said summer solstice. That makes sense. Sorry, but yeah.
Yeah, because
so
summer
they would
solstice would have been right ahead.
they did the measurement during the summer solstice. They waited a year for the next summer solstice, and Bob's your uncle.
Yeah. Now,
To get two same times.
Fun fact though, John, that only showed that there's curvature. It didn't show the Earth was actually round. You need three. In order to do it properly, you need 3 data points, I think, not 2, right?
Yeah, it wasn't so much the fact that it was an evidence that the Earth was round,
It
100%
wasn't
conclusive.
flat.
It's more the fact that you could make a pretty good attempt at measuring the circumference or the radius angle. I can't remember which one it was they measured. The other one, the ISS. Isn't there like an independent website that tracks the ISS orbits so you can know when it's going overhead and you can actually see it at night with the naked eye?
Yes, it's called Red Rhetoric's brain.
Yeah, he memorized. He knows all the orbitals in his head. You can say, hey, what's the latitude and longitude right now of ISS, and boom, he'll pop it out like a massive calculator.
So what, they're saving money with AT&T because Red's just communicate. NASA's saving a fortune with AT&T because they're communicating via Red's ESP or something.
Yeah, they call him up. Hey, Reds, where's that, man? We got to send some supplies up there. We lost it. Well, dude, I remember one time I was telling people about these satellites that go through Orion, and you put a telescope on Orion's belt. You can somewhere up there. You can actually see a line of it looks like a satellite, like the Starlink. You see these satellites go across, right? And they're like, they're like, well, those are just balloons. I'm like, how do you get balloons in a geostationary orbit? Explain this to me.
The first time I saw those, I had no idea that Skylink was a thing, and I was like, what the fuck is that?
The first time,
so I immediately Googled it. And I was like, Skylink. Okay, that makes sense because those things were moving fast.
The first time I saw those satellites, now it wasn't Starlink. It was well before that. This was a long time ago. First time I saw satellites with a telescope, I was thinking, okay, I know these aren't aliens. Okay, I'm not going there. But what the hell is this? I was like, because I always thought that you would see, like, I was under the impression like a satellite would be in a fixed position, like for direct TV, right? But then you see these satellites and they're hauling ass through your field of view. They're not going like super slow. They're going pretty good speed. I mean, where you can notice that they're moving. And I'm like, this is not natural. What the hell are these things? I came to the conclusion they were, satellites, but I'm like, holy crap, dude.
Yeah. The thing is, I was like, it's definitely a satellite, right? Or definitely many satellites, but like, why are there so many?
Yeah.
And why are they following each other? Like, so. Google search.
What is it that you're seeing with the satellite? The satellite is tiny, so is it the reflection off of the solar panels that you can see, or
Correct. It's reflection. They're reflecting the sun, and the glint is what you're actually seeing. And for the record, those satellites are traveling in low Earth orbit around 4.5 miles per second.
Yeah. They're pretty good. I mean, you could literally see them moving against the black, the blackness of the field of stars, and you're like, holy crap, what the hell is this star moving? And you realize, okay, it's not. I mean, you realize it's some kind of satellite, but I'm like, what kind of satellite is this? Is something, But John, there's actually things where you can actually predict what's called an iridium flare, where they've noticed that at certain times where you have the panels aligned a certain way with certain satellites, it'll produce a very bright light called iridium flare. And they can time these. You can say, hey, there's supposed to be a flare at 6 p.m. at this latitude longitude, look this direction, and guess what you see? A flare. Flat earthers can't explain that shit.
Yeah, yet another prediction that's been made. Yeah. It's I can't, I mean, having faith in a Bible for something that's been culturally indoctrinated and battered into you from birth, I kind of have more sort of like empathy for that position than I do the flat Earth, because they've started off from the position of Earth is not flat, and here's this absolute bucket load of evidence.
Agreed.
Oh yeah, and by the way, here's Red's Rhetoric, who has a borderline autistic fascination with battering flat earthers.
It really does.
and
creepy,
they're still like, no, Earth's flat. No, Earth's flat. No, Earth's flat.
Yeah, Red's just a hater.
I've been in his car, and all his car has stickers everywhere. Earth's not flat. NASA. Illuminati sucks.
Yeah, so
hey, Reds.
Go ahead, man.
Oh, sorry, dude. Hey, well, just real quick, as I keep forgetting because I'm baked like a cake, but I want to tell you that whenever you appeared on other channels, I remember watching you back when I was deconstructing and everything, and so you had a part to play in helping me get out of that geocentrism thing.
Reds?
I was going to say I appreciate that. So keep
Yeah,
doing what you're doing.
Not a problem. And here I thought I was just being an asshole on the internet.
One of the
Well,
same.
you
Well, that doesn't
are,
stop it
but
from being true.
Yeah, they're not mutually exclusive.
Yeah, right.
Ah,
it has
Like he's
it
right
has-
about most of the stuff
yeah,
he
it
says,
has-
but he's still a dick.
Yeah, hey, look, dicks own dicks. Okay, we own our dickness. We own that. I've never said that I wasn't an asshole to people that deserve it. I never claimed that. Nobody's ever heard me say that.
Yeah, actually, you've actually claimed to be the holy pope of Gnosticism,
I've
you actually
owned it.
acknowledge it.
Yeah, I'm self-reflective of that. Reds is the same way. We don't suffer fools well. If you're some kind of flat earther, yeah, I'm not going to have much respect for you. Sorry.
the idea is simple: is that if you're going to be an asshole, at least be an asshole with a purpose. My goal is to be somewhat entertaining when I'm burying all these conspiracy nuts underneath their own conspiracy. So my chosen conspiracy to go after is flat Earth, obviously. But if someone were to come to me and say that the Earth is actually the center of the universe, geocentrism, I would be more than happy to go after that shit as well. But to what you were saying, the fact that I was able to help you out of that, first of all, you're welcome. I'm glad I was able to help. And like I said, here I thought I was just being an asshole on the internet. It's good to know that my assholiness has benefited someone in some way. So yeah,
Definitely.
excellent. Happy for you.
Yeah, he goes after the
Thank
shape
you.
of the earth. I go after the age of the earth.
Isn't
Both things are needed.
Isn't geocentrism from the perspective of the universe, not the solar system? Isn't that? I mean, because we've got
Both.
like an observational
It's
shell.
both.
Yeah,
It's both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. A hard geocentrist will say that the universe, the Earth is the center of the universe, but there are some geocentrists that'll just say the Earth is the center of the solar system, but not necessarily the universe.
Yeah, I believe both back
Interesting position. I
Look,
feel.
What I mean is the center of the universe argument, because we've got obviously we've got a 13.8 billion light year observational sort of range, haven't we, that we can't see beyond?
Right. But if you're out there though, you would have a different range, right? You have a different Hubble volume.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. So we don't know if, I mean, in a very, very real sense, we don't know if the universe ceases to exist beyond that observational shell. So what I mean is, if that's actually the case, you could make an argument that the Earth isn't the center of the solar system, but is the center of the universe,
Yeah.
because wherever you're stood is the center of
Correct.
the observational universe.
Yes.
So I actually have a little bit more. At least that's not. You
Too
could
far-fetched?
potentially. I don't agree with it because I don't think just because we can't see something, it pops out of existence.
Yeah, it was called
but
it's called object persistence.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing that you're
Do you mean
that you're
permanence?
observing,
Permanence. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Object permanence. Yeah.
So I did.
So,
I was
Steve,
gonna
just-
head out pretty soon here.
right.
I just wanted to say happy birthday.
Thank you, my friend. We'll substitute you with a smarter person, Landon, here in a second.
that is true.
And by the way, it's
That
not
is true.
offensive either. That's not even.
That Landon is
That's not even an insult.
Have a goodbye, Steve.
It's not. But it's good to know. It's good to know that the only person you could find that was smarter than me is Landon. Thank you for the
Yes,
compliment.
you're welcome. Well, wasn't Reds.
So either way,
All right, thanks, bud.
I'll see you guys later. Have a good night.
Hey,
Sure.
by the way, I don't know if this comes standard with the model, but we also used to believe that not only was the Earth the center of the universe and the solar system, but that it was stationary, which I think that comes standard. But we also believe that the way you explained, like, let's say long exposure with a camera pointing towards the sky makes those circles and everything. We said that was just capturing the universe spinning around us.
Well, there is. That's funny. It's not far fetched. There actually is a principle called Mach's principle, which is,
Okay.
yeah, there's actually something to that. But what they can't explain is why you have these concentric rings, why you have these circumpolar stars that always seem to go around, Polaris or in the southern hemisphere around their star down there, and why in the equator it looks completely different. Why do you have the circumpolar stars? Well, because we have axial tilt. The Earth is tilted, and they can't explain the axial tilt if the Earth is flat. How do you get a 23 point something degree tilt if the Earth is flat? It wouldn't make any sense.
Well, it's also it's other things like the concept of like the notion of the deep time of sort of like our weather cycles, the fact that the Earth is on an axis.
Yep.
And the axis change in relation to the sun affects our seasons, and then the fact that the axis has a slight wobble on it affects our global weather. It's why we have predictable ice ages every 10 to
It's why we have precession
10 to
of
14,000 years.
The stars
So we have
precess. We know
precession of
that.
stars.
Yeah.
It's why when you look at the if you observe the North Star over a protracted period of time, it actually has got a wobble to it. It sort of oscillates.
Wait, who just joined?
Brandon, his mic has got a. I think he's sitting.
It's still messed up.
It sounds like you have a fan or aquarium.
Are you shaving, bro?
Steve, why do you have the names off?
I don't know how to. I don't know.
I don't know. Hold on.
How do you put the names on? It says show avatars, but it doesn't. I don't know where the names are. It just says show avatars. I tried to figure that out before and I couldn't do it.
Have you guys watched that? Was it the new Netflix series, The Ancient something or other by the what's the guy's name? Oh, it's going to bug me. The one where he's talking about like the old lost civilization that's like sort of pre the Younger Dryas.
No.
I haven't seen
I
that.
just finished season 3 of Umbrella Academy and it was really good.
No, this is what he's got a thing where he's talking about procession. It's going to bug me. Let me have a quick. Yeah. I'm just going to quickly have a look on my Netflix.
If you guys haven't seen the Umbrella Academy, oh, it's so good, so good. And I finished season 3 of The Boys, so good.
That found it. Ancient Apocalypse.
Never heard of it.
So it's Graham Hancock. He was on.
Oh, I know that name.
So basically, his he claims it's a hypothesis, but essentially what he says is, look, we've got things like all these sort of structures all over the world that have similar building method, polygonal walls.
Yeah, he's like Eric von Däniken.
They're all pointing in these. Yeah, I mean the thing is, it's weird because when you were talking about the. No, he doesn't. He doesn't even say that. I mean, he's got.
No, I know. I was joking.
He's got some funky.
Is he cutting out for him?
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Yeah. Yeah, he's the one that came up with the whole pyramid theory for the Orion's Belt being the way the pyramids are aligned in Giza.
I mean, you could say it's a coincidence, but that's a hell of a coincidence.
Well, the thing that he was saying that look, these temples that the conventional history would say, look, okay, it was somewhere 6,000 to 10,000 years ago. Humanity started building large civilizations because we domesticated animals and we started agriculture, which gave us surplus time and resources to educate a stonemason class that would allow these buildings to be built. And the reason that they've come to those conclusions is because a lot of the sort of the geological evidence, the evidence that we find buried, seems to comport with that. What he's saying is actually the civilizations were much, much, much older than that. And during the Younger Dryas, which was this, his hypothesis is that some comets impacted the northern ice sheet, and that just melted it, broke it, and it essentially caused catastrophic damage. Essentially, just imagine tens of thousands, millions of glaciers just running south and just gouging civilizations off the face of the planet, destroying all evidence. And the survivors of this civilization then went around the globe teaching other cultures further south how to build. But what he was saying was the age dates of these buildings that we see can't possibly be what they're much older than the current theory would allow for. And one of the things that he points out is, look, this building, the most recent building we think that was built, points directly at this constellation at this time of day on the horizon, at this when it converges with the horizon. And now if you look at this one over here, that points exactly where it would have been if, because of our axis wobble, that one points, because none of these buildings point in exactly the same direction. So what he's saying is that building's built 2,000 years before that one's built 2,000 of years before that one's built, because it points at where the constellation would have been based on the wobble. And the dates that these massive structures were built is thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years prior to what the current historians would.
Are you talking about Göbekli Tepe?
No, not Göbekli Tepe. These are some buildings
we did shows
in Turkey or something.
We did. If you go to Non Sequitur, we actually did do shows on Graham Hancock. It was with Brian Forrester. We did the Great Sphinx Mystery and Ancient Civilizations. We did that. We also did the Gaze of the Giza, Secrets of the Sphinx with remember Maggie Bryson, Dr. Maggie Bryson. And we did one on Göbekli Tepe. With Jens Nortroff, and we also did one on stoned ape theory and DMT effects that this came up with Isaac Lindenberg. So yeah, we did. I just looked. We did 5 shows that involve Graham Hancock. Wow.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I didn't even.
I don't even remember one of the. I don't remember 1 or 2 of these. You know, we had so many shows. I remember the one with Maggie, and I remember the stoned ape, but I don't remember the Great Sphinx Mystery with Brian. That's interesting because again, I had a lot of shows, but yeah, we did 5 shows about Graham Hancock's. Because I remember they wanted the Sphinx that dated back to 10,500 in order to have it aligned properly with the belt, and like due east or something would be like the Sphinx pointing to Leo, right? And there was a lot of astronomical alignments, and I'm all cool with that. I mean, sure, maybe that's the case. I have no problem with that, but I think it requires civilization to have come about many thousands of years prior to our current.
Well, I mean, look, and there's certainly no real way to state that it's not possible. I mean, just from the perspective of time, you know, I mean, we keep on finding human remains prior to when we thought we should have found human. I mean, what's the cap on the existence of our species now?
2 million.
Well, originally they thought it was sort of like what they'd found evidence for was sort of like 50,000 years, 60,000 years, and then it jumps up to 100,000 years, and now sort of like
2.4 million.
250,000 years. Yeah.
200 300,000 is like modern extant humans, but as far as like the first humans or hominids, were 2.4 million years ago.
Yeah.
By the way, the British Empire. The British Empire was 1,000 years old when it eventually crumbled. You know, Cambridge University was founded prior to the collapse of the Aztec Empire. It's absolutely fucking bonkers, the fact that we seem to think that we're the first to do absolutely everything that we've done. We're the most advanced pinnacle of our society when we've potentially got 25 times what our species has existed for 25 times longer than the oldest civilization that we've got evidence for.
I am completely convinced we lost huge amounts of information over the years, a huge amount, things that we can never recover. Yeah, I believe that.
Absolutely.
Well, apparently there's a void.
Just the fire at the Library of Alexandria set us back 1,000 years. So imagine if that never happened.
And apparently there's a void under one of the parts of the Sphinx. I can't remember which one.
I thought that too, but I've never really been able to get any confirmation of that, even from Maggie.
I'm sorry, am I the only one who doesn't understand the guy with the night picture of Van Gogh?
Brandon, he needs to move back from his mic a little bit.
Yeah, everyone else needs to understand them with me.
I'm trying to figure things out.
That's good.
Right there. It's not working.
Right there. Yeah, you don't have to be. You need to be about 6 to 8 inches from the mic.
All right.
Somebody in the live chat said Antigone is my favorite play. Her father's king. Yeah, he forbids mourning Antigone's brother. It is a fabulous argument against authority for its own sake. Yeah. She was totally like rebelling against the king and the establishment to bury her brother. I just don't remember why they couldn't have a mourning for the brother. I can't remember. It's something that happened in one of the battles. I mean, this was like, I read this like I said, in 93 or 4 probably. It was a long time ago. So, but anyways, I'm gonna let you guys do your thing for a while. I'm gonna go step away for a few minutes, like an old school hangout. If you guys want to talk about whatever you want to talk about, and I'll be back in a few minutes. Okay.
Oh,
cool. Does anybody know if I was literally about to ask Steve if he's found a counterpart for his atheist-born babies debate yet? Does anybody know if he's found anyone?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll have to ask him when he gets back.
Yeah, I thought he mentioned. Something about having someone's going to argue that rocks are atheists or something, or at least he's looking for. At least he's looking for that.
This all ties back to I mean, this is nearly 2 weeks ago. There's some guy called Mark who, I mean, it's weird actually. His claim in part was correct, but what he was founding it on was garbage. So Steve, we ended up asking him, look, if he takes the you can only be an atheist if you have the capacity to assess the proposition and make a decision about it, which is what he was claiming. But Aaron Ra's position is rocks are atheists. So the question was, okay, well, at what point can a human become an atheist? Because of when can they assess an argument? So Steve asked him, okay, are babies born atheists? Based on his paradigm, he couldn't answer the question, and I think this is where the idea for the subject of the debate comes from, because it drills down to the hole in the lack theism is atheism sort of.
I did hear your question. I was just stepping away. I'm making pizza rolls in the
weird conflation.
I'm making pizza. Yeah, pizza rolls in.
Not very healthy, Steve.
Pizza rolls are good, and I'm putting them in the air fryer. Okay, so they're cooking healthy. But they take about 10, 12 minutes. I have not found a debate partner, although I'm opening it up. But see, the problem is that in order to get a debate partner, I keep having to lower my standards, right? People are like, why don't you just argue it here? And I'm like, I'm tired of arguing it in a Facebook group. Well, here's the dictionary. You're at that point, you're going away. I'm not going to even bother you or entertain anything you have to say because you're an idiot. I want somebody that can act like the other day. I had somebody literally go through my paper and was pointing out some logical stuff, right? And I kept explaining to them, but this is incorrect due to this. And I said, this and they're like, well, you didn't put that in your paper. I'm like, yes, I did. Here it is. Oh, okay. Well, and I'm like, I appreciate you going through it and using the logic, but if you're just going to straw man me and say that I didn't put things in there that are clearly in there, you don't have much of a reputation.
Yeah, you got to actually pay attention, man.
It was bugging. It was bugging me. It was the first person to actually use the logic and say, well, he's like, well, this doesn't follow if this, and this. I go, it does if you add this to it. Well, you didn't see that. I'm like, fuck, I did it. Here it is. But I appreciate the fact that he went through it, but he was just looking for stuff to,
Well,
like,
that's at least better effort than others have.
I agree.
Which is pretty much zero.
I agree.
So.
I agree. Go ahead.
That chap I was talking to in the YouTube comments the other day, we sort of veered off the topic and ended up sort of discussing about whether agnosticism is a knowledge claim or a belief claim. But I couldn't quite get him to understand.
Well, where do they get that from a knowledge? Where do they even get that from?
I think it's because of the etymology of the word rather than what the actual usage of the word. Like by a process of deduction, you can work out that if you can be an agnostic, but all of your position is entirely based on belief claims and the absence of knowledge claims, because it's either you don't have knowledge or it's not possible to know, then despite the etymology of the word meaning without knowledge,
that's
then
belief,
it
though.
Must be that's belief.
That's a belief, yeah. No, I try to explain to them that. They don't get that. It's never was a knowledge position ever. Even when Huxley coined it, it was a normative epistemic principle. It was never a knowledge claim. So anybody who says agnosticism deals with knowledge or is about knowledge, they're wrong. They have never read anything about it.
I think they view it as a knowledge claim because it's an absence of knowledge, which is it is to do with knowledge, whether you have knowledge or not.
But it's still a belief about knowledge. It's a belief about.
But it's you can either have knowledge or not have knowledge, but if you don't have knowledge, then that causes you to believe one thing or causes you to believe another, because the belief is a dichotomy.
Yeah.
So it's always, it has to be a belief. Belief has to be involved, and knowledge may or may not be involved.
Correct.
So if belief has to be and knowledge may or may not be, then
Yeah.
it must be principally a belief claim.
And I keep explaining to them, why do you want to talk about it as an epistemological principle of the knowability of gods, which you start bringing in analytic and modalities, modal logic? Why do you care about possibilities and necessities and anything like that when you're just asking not asking what's possible? You're just asking, does God exist? That's it. I'm not asking about knowability. I'm not asking about if it's possible. It's a simple question, and God, they get so evasive.
As much as that person was wrong, what I was going to say is I think that's the sort of person who you obviously trying to look for, and I think would be great, because at one point I did say that he was coming from a position of ignorance, and I didn't mean ignorance. I didn't say ignorance as an insult. I wasn't calling him ignorant, although he was, but he didn't immediately take that as a personal insult and turn into a spewing little child and start throwing shit back. He was still engaged like an adult.
Like
so
Mark
that's
Peacock.
The sort of person you need.
That one Mark Peacock guy.
Well, that's what I was saying about where this sort of I think your our baby's born.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to go.
Topic sort of came from that, but
I don't know where that show's going to go, because again, there's nobody.
You can't find anybody.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I'll let's open it up, but the problem is I'll give my reason. I was going to make a presentation, but I just haven't had time, so I don't know if I go that route. But it's
you want to send a flare up to Aaron Ra, see if he'll come on and have a chat.
So hey, Steve.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go because I'm me, I guess. So it was nice to be on again.
Thank you, Sparkle.
Reds, get new material and stop with this flat Earth. Okay, it's been 20 years.
They still exist. He hasn't. He hasn't. I say, dude, keep going. He hasn't conquered it yet. He hasn't excised it. And by the way, I think Reds actually would be very happy if flat Earth did just die out. He would do rocket stuff.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
I don't think it would bother that much.
It would be nice, but the fact is, Asina, you have to understand, without any losers, there wouldn't be any winners.
Dude, you picked a very soft target, okay? So it's not like nothing to brag about. It's like outrunning a cripple kid and going, "Yeah, I won." Come on.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Come on.
Yeah, but keep in mind, I fully accept that the bar is so low, it is underground.
Right.
All right. Well, my point still stands, but you do you, I guess.
Yeah. I beat a baby in a dance-off. Okay, great.
Forget the haters.
Hey, Reds, stop doing all your flat Earth stuff. Reds turned around, no trophies for last place, bitch.
What good is that?
I'm eventually it's just gonna be the channel's just gonna be me sitting in a chair when I'm like old, like 80 years old, decrepit, and it's gonna be like those old guy yells at clouds type of videos where it's just me shitting on flat Earth. Back in my day, when the International Space Station was there, when we weren't beaming people to fucking Mars instantaneously with that fucking transporter bullshit, we had these assholes on this website called YouTube.
I'd be like, dude, that's an old man screaming at the clouds right there, man. That shit never happened. Nobody's that damn stupid.
Reds, you're going to be
old guy yells at clouds type of videos.
You're going to be a 90-year-old man sat on your porch drinking beer. You're going to reach for that beer out of the cooler. Your decrepit ass is going to fall out of the chair. You're going to slide to the deck, and you go, oh, kind of does look flat from down here.
Yeah, I was going to say, that'd be his worst nightmare. That's going to be Red's worst nightmare. He gets like senile, and he starts losing it, and he goes full Jeranism.
It's gonna like I said, when I'm 90 years
I will
old
end
and
you at that point. I will end your life.
And I'm yelling how the teenagers have it so good because they can just beam me up, Scotty, all the way to the fucking moon, and we had to launch rockets in order to achieve that shit. And now there's no such thing as flat Earth anymore. I can be reminiscing about the good old days, about how I completely dunked on these intellectual rejects.
Can you imagine life before space elevators? Come on, we had space elevators, man. There was no life before space elevators.
Made of fucking carbon nanotubes.
Right, exactly. Carbon nanotechnology. There you go.
They should just send a probe up to the moon that has, obviously, essentially a high resolution camera that just points at the Earth, sending continuous video
right there. I'm going to stop you right there. It's already been done. DirecTV actually had a channel that was connected not to any network but to their own satellite. There was a camera, and it was just a consumer grade camera, and it was in operation for 2 years until the radiation damage was so messed up on it that you couldn't actually get a decent picture out of it anymore.
So they just fry the RCD in the camera.
It fried everything. So basically, the entire image looked like it was covered with electronic snow. But before the radiation completely fucked that shit up, there was a channel dedicated to just that view, and it was constant. It would never. It would never stop just looking at the Earth, and you could just turn to this channel and see the Earth from a DirecTV satellite. And like I said, the camera was more of an afterthought, which is why it wasn't, shielded from radiation and that kind of thing. So, like I said, the radiation, the space environment just completely fucked up the camera sensor, and it only lasted for 2 years, if I remember correctly. But anyway, that didn't convince them. And when you have more HD videos from the International Space Station, that still doesn't convince them. People have live interviews on the space station, that doesn't convince them. No video that you show them, whether it's live or not, is going to convince them. The only way to convince a flat earther would be to strap them to a rocket, fly them to the moon, walk them to the lunar lander that we landed back in the 1960s, bash their fucking head against one of the landing legs, and then bring them back to Earth and then ask them the question, so, what you got to say for yourself, motherfucker?
Well, thanks for that pep talk, Reds. That's really cheered me up. The fact that we're basically banging our heads against the wall.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what you were saying earlier, Steve, about the philosophy of when one changes one's belief, sort of like the amount of information or knowledge that you've consumed to change a belief. It's interesting. I like there's a guy called Peter Boghossian who does sort of like the street. I know street Peter. He does the street epistemology where he plays that really simple game where you've got like strongly agree, neutral, disagree, strongly disagree, and he gets people to stand on lines and have the discussion. And like the question the best question he asks is, okay, so what if anything would change your mind? And it absolutely amazes me the number of people who go absolutely nothing. Yeah, I've never been that confident about anything in my life.
Oh, I know one person. There's a guy that we spoke to not too long ago. He goes by the name of Jesus Fucker, or at least that's the name I gave him. And
I was in that chat with you, Reds. Yeah,
I got fucking hilarious.
Yeah, so Jesus Fucker is a flat earther, and I was simply trying to ask him a very basic question, which was, if I were to fly your happy ass to the International Space Station and you were to look down and see our beautiful round Earth, would you be intellectually honest enough to say that the Earth is round at that point? And would you believe how fucking complicated that conversation got? That is a pretty basic question, and he couldn't answer it.
Yep.
Oh man!
I have to say, I had never ever heard his rationale for why the Earth was flat, which seemed to be God has an equal relationship with everybody. God sits on a throne, therefore, to maintain equidistance from everybody, the Earth must be flat. But I'm like, that doesn't even make sense on a flat fucking plane, because unless you'd have to get 7 billion people on Earth stood in exactly the same spot, and
not only that, but is it even necessary if God is supposed to be everywhere all the time and that kind of shit? It's like, it's not necessary. This is an unnecessary step, and in my opinion, kind of limits God's awesomeness. And if you really want to get into that, I mean, a sphere is going to be better because you could just place God in the very center of the Earth and call it a fucking day.
Yeah, he's at the core.
That's apparently where you have to put hell. So.
I mean, fine. I mean, that's great. But if God is supposed to be, the ruler of everything, I mean, he can go ahead and move into hell if he fucking wants to, and Satan ain't gonna do shit. Hey, this is my house, bitch.
The worrying. I mean, that's one of the least the least thought through concepts I think I've heard anybody throw out, as novel as it was.
Well, yeah. I mean, when I was asking Jesus fucker this question, it was, if you went to the International Space Station and you saw the round Earth, would you finally accept that the Earth is round? And would you be intellectually honest enough to come back and report that yes, the Earth is actually round? So not only would you accept it, you would also tell other people this fact. He wouldn't answer that fucking question. And the conversation got so fucking complicated for no good goddamn reason. It kind of makes you wonder, what is your fucking deal, bro? I mean, is Jesus's cock so far down your throat that you're not going to have the ability to speak the truth of what you yourself are seeing?
Well, that's
the thing
right.
that pisses
To me, it seems like mental illness. But go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that pisses me off most about it is you've got a person. There's a large group of people who aren't prepared to be honest about their observations, but they're using the reason that we know these people exist, and the reason that we know that we're able to have a conversation with these people from the other side of the planet, is because our recent history is replete with people who have been honest with their observations, and they've used those observations to develop some of the best technology from the perspective of communications and science that have ever existed. And they're taking this amazing tool, and they're using it to spout absolutely insane bullshit on the internet. And yeah. I'm both angry and sort of weirdly content with that, because it provides a huge degree of entertainment.
It does. And people being wrong on the internet's never going to change. I mean, for example, you have flat earthers, you have geocentrists, you have anti-vaxxers, you have people who thought that the Non Sequitur Show was property of Kyle fucking Curtis.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you have a lot of shit-stained people out there that are spouting demonstrably incorrect bullshit, and then here we are trying to make Brandolini's law not a thing anymore. When unfortunately, oh no, that shit's a law, and it is sticking to your ass.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I just explained Brandolini's law to a friend of mine on like yesterday, and she goes, "Oh my God, Steve, I was doing a video, and now I get the law." She's like, the amount of effort I had to spend to refute such a trivial throwaway statement claim that somebody made. I'm like, exactly.
So what is Brandolini's law? Sorry,
it's called the bullshit asymmetry principle.
Yep.
And it states that the amount of effort it takes to debunk bullshit on the internet is an order of magnitude more than what it takes to initially produce it.
Yeah, so it's a variation on the Gish galloping fallacy, which just throwing out so much shite information that it takes so long to counter that shite information with correct information that you in reality can't address at all.
That's what like William Lane Craig was kind of known for during the end of his debates. Not just Dwayne Gish. Dwayne Gish was famous for it, right? Throwing out so much shit you couldn't get to. Well, William Lane Craig would do something kind of duplicitous, where if he went last in the debate, because he always liked to go last in the debate, he would throw out so much like stuff that wasn't even talked about that the opponent wouldn't even have a chance to even address.
Well, he also used to like going last as well, from what I understand, because I've watched a few debates and I can't remember the specifics, but there are a few times where he goes, "Look, you've not addressed this, you've not addressed this, you've not addressed this, and you've not addressed this." I'm like, hang on a minute, I've just been sat here for the last 2 hours, 20 minutes listening to your counterpart directly address all of those fucking things.
That's my point. That's what he loved to do. He's like, I brought up, you saw my opponent, I brought up these 10 things and he didn't address any of them. Well, there's only so much about time, right? Yeah, Hovind does it too. Hovind does it too. You know what I might have? I might have a hangout in the next week or two, and it'll be on disagreements and what it means to disagree and when you should change your epistemic state, because I think it is actually fascinating. It's a lot more complicated than people realize. There's something called the restaurant check situation, where let's say I sit down with you, John, and we decide beforehand we're going to divide the check equally among a whole bunch of people. So all of us, let's say we have a group of people. And we all say we're all going to have dinner, and we are going to separate this one check. We're all just going to pay in a certain amount of percentage of it. Okay. Like whatever it is. And so we get the check, and I do my calculations. I come up with $45 and you come up with $43. Right. And I'm like, okay, somebody's wrong here. And I have to evaluate first of all, does John understand math better than me? Is he superior, inferior, or same amount? And then I have to say, can I be wrong on this? And of course, that's something you probably could make a math error, right? And so you have to evaluate all these different things of when you need to change your position. Now, if I'm out with Landon and Landon, calculates something and I get it wrong, or I come up with a number and Landon comes up with a number, I'm going to probably go, okay, I probably messed up, right? Because he's far superior in that, and the likelihood is going to be correct. Doesn't mean that by necessity he's correct, though, right? But you weigh in all these factors, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But with that analogy, it's also there are things that even with something as objective as dividing, a meal amongst a set number of people, you could actually have two different answers and both be correct. Because what if I'm allowing 15% for a tip and you're allowing 10% for a tip?
Yeah,
We've come to two different answers, and about our maths are correct.
You decide a 20% tip. I think is with the way the thing is ran. It's you add 20%. But a better example would be if that was the case. Like, let's say I believe 2 + 2 is 4, and all of a sudden you say, "Hey, by the way, Steve, you're wrong. 2 + 2 is not 4." At that point, I'm not going to my brain's not going to say, "Did I fuck up?" Right? I'm not going to reevaluate my belief. I'm going to reevaluate your understanding of math. Right?
Hey, Steve. Did you know that 0.999 repeating does not equal 1?
For fuck's sake.
Hey, no, I didn't know that, Reg. Please tell me all the evidence. Oh, wait, there is none. Okay, welcome back.
I love triggering him with that. I'm going to get him a T-shirt that literally has those two numbers, the 0.999 repeating and the 1 and a not equals in the middle. I'm going to make him wear it.
I'm going to get you a shirt that's flat. It does not equal level. By the way, I did see a shirt the other day that I absolutely loved for you. It was
flat. We checked, and it's the NASA logo.
No, it was actually a NASA thing, but it was all like the safety checklist that NASA things people have to like go through and stuff. If like
the poll.
Yeah, I don't know. It was just a really cool looking shirt that had all these like the actual procedures they go through. Like closed door kind of stuff. Check.
Yeah,
this.
for those of you who don't know, if you listen to a launch, whether it's SpaceX, ULA, or NASA related, you're going to hear the poll throughout all the people that are at their consoles. So it's going to be go. Bearings, go. Umbilicals, go. Power, go. Water, go. Engines, go. Locks, go. Rock, report range status, range green. LC, LD, you are go for launch.
I love that shit.
Pokemon out here.
Yeah, but you know what? They have to do that. That's such a culture that has to be used. I was talking about flying a plane the other day with somebody who's a pilot, and they talk about checklists, and even though those simulated games, you can go through those checklists, and they're strict, right? And it's the same thing in real life. When you fly a plane, you have to do those checklists. If you get in an accident and you miss something on your checklist, you're screwed.
Yeah, that shit's on you. Unless you're flying a Max 8, in which case you're fucked regardless. Although here's a question, and I believe I asked this question before, but I'm going to ask again because, quite frankly, I don't give a shit about the subject, and I completely forgot the answer. But if my position is that I do not make a claim as to whether God does or does not exist, my only claim is that your arguments for his existence suck ass. Mm-hmm. What would you? What would be the name of that position?
Yeah, I think you're agnostic.
All right,
you're one of my people. The few, the proud.
I try to say that no, I don't make a claim as to whether or not God does or does not exist. I only claim that your arguments suck donkey balls.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Though.
Yeah, so that's suspending judgment.
Yeah, okay. So
you're not suspending judgment because you've made a judgment about the evidence that somebody else has presented. Your burden of proof is not to demonstrate that the God does not exist or does exist. Your burden of proof is to demonstrate that you're not satisfied with the evidence that somebody's presented.
But it is suspending judgment because there's only three epistemic states, right? Belief, disbelief, or suspend judgment. Generally speaking, those are the three.
Sorry, right? I agree with you. But what I mean is, in order to reach your conclusion of neither believe nor disbelieve, and to have actually assessed the evidence that's been presented, you have made a judgment about the evidence that's been presented.
You made a judgment about the evidence,
agnostic,
Yeah,
I agree
about
with
the evidence, but
not
not
the claim.
about the ontological
you.
status.
Not
of
about the
God,
ontological
though.
status
Yeah.
of God. No, of course
Yeah.
not. No.
That's what you're spending
No,
judgment on.
That's what we were getting at.
See, like, but Reds and I are probably in the same boat. We're our version of a deity, if they exist. There's not going to be some classical theist type deity. We're looking at a much higher level for some kind of intelligence, if that exists, right?
But I will go out of my way to say that their arguments remind me of the contents after Fat Bastard ate some Taco Bell and flushed. I am more than happy to say that their arguments remind me of such a thing.
Yeah. Well, there's something called, as I was saying, in philosophy called the uniqueness thesis, and the uniqueness thesis says basically, for any given body of evidence, for any proposition, if the evidence is so great, then there's only one proper epistemic dysastic attitude to have: believe, disbelieve, or suspend judgment. So, if flat Earth is so debunked, it actually states the only justification you have is to believe that it's false. If you have one of the other dysastic states where you believe that it's true or you suspend judgment, you are in epistemic error. There's only one uniqueness. It's called the uniqueness thesis, that if you have sufficient evidence, only one dysastic state is justifiable. Rationally.
When it comes to the shape of the earth, I'm going to make a knowledge claim on that. When it comes to God, I don't.
Yeah.
But when it comes to their arguments, I'm going to listen to their arguments, and I'm just going to tell them if their arguments are absolutely amazing and awesome and beautiful and gorgeous, or I'm going to say that their arguments are complete horseshit.
Or if they just don't go anywhere. Like, argument from contingency is not horseshit, but it just doesn't go anywhere. Plantina's ontological argument isn't bad. It doesn't go anywhere.
I mean, like for example, if I were to have a conversation with Jesus fucker, I would immediately just say that his arguments are shit, and then if he keeps talking, throw myself off a fucking cliff.
Yeah, I'd say the biggest problem for me is consciousness. That's a pretty good evidence for, like, if you're gonna say there's evidence in favor of theism, I would say you'd probably want to go that route. I mean, I guess if you're coming up against someone like me, like a naturalist. So.
Ben Speed Watkins would agree with you, and he's a hardcore atheist. He gives consciousness and the hard problem consciousness into a slight tick in the theist column. And I do too, by the way. I do too.
I'm agnostic when it comes to that. I have no idea what to make of consciousness. So.
We got some background noise, just so that you are aware.
Yeah, sorry, Reds. That was my kids talking to me. It wasn't some random person calling you daddy. So I was backing a bit.
That's funny because it has happened. Okay, go ahead.
What I would recommend looking into when it comes to consciousness is go on YouTube sometime and just look up The Game of Life.
We know the game.
And basically, it is a grid that extends infinitely in all directions. It's a computer program, and their cells within the grid can be either on or off, alive or dead, and depending on the surrounding cells, it will dictate whether or not a particular cell is on or off. And there are certain rules about it. I don't know the rules off the top of my head, but essentially the end result is with a random pattern of cells that are on and off that extend infinitely in all directions, you can actually start to see order. You can start to see structure in that, when in reality, these are very, very simple rules that this infinite grid is following. And apparently, it is so amazing that you could play the game of life within the game of life.
Yeah.
And
I've seen that. I've seen that.
And
it's fascinating. I'm definitely going to check that out. That sounds cool as fuck.
See the game of life, they've made with these very simple rules, and I believe there's only 3 rules to this infinite grid. They made structures that mimic a heartbeat. They make structures that walk. They make structures that reproduce. They make they make some pretty amazing shit within this computer program. And in reality, the rules are so simple, but from these very basic rules, you can get very complicated system.
Yeah, that's true.
And they're inferring consciousness from that?
And that's the problem. It doesn't get you to consciousness. The hard problem of consciousness.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And he's right about the whole life thing.
in terms of the consciousness thing, is that this is an argument that I'm trying to make here, is that because you can get very complex machinery from these very simple rules, you can, of course, then build up from that, making even more complicated machinery and even more complicated machinery. At some point, you start building the most complicated machinery out there, which is a neural network, which can actually be reproduced within the game of life itself. And so at some point, when do we have a structure that is so complicated and so perfect, I guess I'm going to use that word in this context, so perfect that it actually starts mimicking consciousness to such a degree that you literally can't tell the fucking difference?
The only problem you kind of run into is the theist will say, well, who wrote the rules?
Mm-hmm. Well, not saying that anyone had to write the rules for the game of life.
But the rules do exist, right? We all agree there's certain rules. We call them laws.
I know. I'm not saying that the rules don't exist. What I'm saying is that the rules, being what they are, were very simple from the very beginning. That what's the argument that William Lane Craig says is that all of these things aligning in such a way as like 1 to the 50th fucking power, some ridiculous number or figure that he pulls out of his ass. The game of light operates on 3 rules. 3. That's it. And from those 3 rules alone, you get very complicated structures that can literally build off of each other, that they can resemble a neural network.
Yeah, you can literally, like you said, play the game of life on the game of life. But yeah, no, I totally agree with all that. The argument is, though, those were rules that somebody created. We have laws, and they are descriptive. But the theists will argue those descriptive laws describe laws that were prescribed by some kind of intelligence to make the universe the way it is. And it's a hard. It's not as easy. People, discount intelligent design. And I do too. I think it's a form of smuggled in creationism. But there are some aspects of intelligent design that are not just. It's super easy to throw underneath the carpet and just say it's stupid.
No, we'd have to ask like when like how are those? We're asking how are those laws or rules or whatever? How are they instantiated?
Yeah, it's called a metaphysical accounting is what they're asking for. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's hey, look, dude. If that points to God, fine. It points to God.
That's how I am. That's why I'm agnostic. Whatever. I'm like, it might be, but it's certainly not the way that God has been portrayed by these radicals that say, "Believe me, or you're going to be cast down to a lake of fire." That's bullshit.
I wouldn't make a hard conclusion based on what I just said in regards to the game of life. What I would say is that it gives you a lot of food for thought, and that's why I say if you were to look up that game, seriously, look up the game of life. I think Numberphile even made a video about it. And so if you look up the game of life, you can see all the crazy fucking shit they do with this thing. It's amazing. And then you think to yourself, well, this shit at its core is very, very simple. There's nothing really extraordinary about this 2D grid that goes in all directions forever. There's really nothing amazing about it, but from that nothing amazing state, they get amazing out of it. And so it just gives you food for thought, is all I'm saying.
Well, yeah, absolutely. It's like when you look at the game Go, Go is such a simple, straightforward board game with really simple rules, but the complexity of the game is just ridiculous. The amount of strategy that you can bolt on to what is such a simple concept, simple game. So yeah, completely agree. But you do get back to the point where you sort of like, okay, even though these rules are simple, even though this is straightforward, who? And it's the sneaking in the who. I'm like, look, that's what you just have to go. Yeah, I don't know. I cannot like square the confidence that people have with that there is a who there. It seems a bit bonkers. I've got just a real quick question. It's tangentially related to space, astrophysics, and not to do with atheism or whatnot. But it's something that I wanted to ask Steve or you, Reds, I guess. With gravity. If you let's say the sun disappeared right now, it would take 8 light minutes for us to realize that the sun's not there anymore because obviously the light's traveling here.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
so let's say there is no sun there. We're existing on the planet for some reason. There's no sun, and then all of a sudden, instantaneously, this gravitational mass, the size of the sun, gets dropped into that space. How long would it take the gravity from that? Does the gravity
Same time.
instantaneously have
No.
an effect on the Earth,
No,
or does it take 8 minutes?
Gravity takes 8 minutes. Nothing travels faster than the speed of light, even including gravity waves.
Essentially,
Gravity
that was
propagates at the speed of light.
Yep.
right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to, that's it's basically the speed of causality is the speed of light. And so in order for the sun's mass to cause anything in regards to the Earth, it has to travel at the speed of causality, which is the speed of light.
And it'd be interesting, like for example, if the and I've done this, man. I've done this calculation. It's not a hard calculation. Landon can do it in his sleep. You can do it in his head. But if you took the sun and you put it down to about 2.9 kilometers, a little under 3 kilometers, and it turned into a black hole, we would be traveling around it just like we normally would. It's just not going to suck us in like you see in a movie. It's just be like, it'd be dark, right? But I mean, we would still be orbiting that black hole the size of, less than 3 kilometers because it still has the same mass. It's just confined in a smaller area.
Well, I mean, we know that to be the case from the principle of all galaxies have a black hole at the center of them. If the black hole just sucked everything in a straight line, there wouldn't be any galaxies.
Right.
Either, so.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. But if the sun all of a sudden vanished, right? 8 minutes later, we're going to be flung off tangentially to some, we're going to be thrown into outer space,
Yeah, well, it's going to be like like a slingshot releasing a stone, isn't it?
Yes.
We're just going to fuck off at a rapid rate.
Yeah, we've lost what we're orbiting against, so we're just going to go tangentially, right? But anyways.
I've got a question for you guys.
Oh boy, can't wait.
Question answer night, I guess. That's cool.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. If there was what do you guys think is like the most likely form of theism to be true, if it is true? Like, so we have perfect being theism. Huh?
I'm gonna say the most likely form of theism, which I assume you mean belief systems, is that if God does exist, or like let me say this, assuming for a second that God does exist, it would be the form of theism where we accept God exists, but we also accept that God does not give two shits about us.
That's more like almost like a deism God or a non-personalized God.
Yeah,
not personalized, and I mean, if God set that initial spark into motion, He did it for shits and giggles.
Yeah.
He don't give two fucks about what's happening here on Earth.
I would have to go with
he has a trillion better fucking things to do about the entirety of the universe, or basically, he has better shit to do.
Yeah, if I had to guess, which probably the most accurate, Scientology.
Shut up, dude.
No,
I mean, it'll be like that. It'll be like the time when everyone goes to hell and goes, wait a second, but I was a devout Catholic. Yeah, you were wrong. But I was a devout Muslim. What's up? Yeah, you were wrong too. What? Then who was right? It was the Mormons.
Oh.
The Mormons.
No, I think that early theism, if there was a divine being that created a creator being, and there was some relationship that mankind had with them, it has been so bastardized to the point of irreconcilable accountings, because nothing in the Old Testament relates to the New Testament to me. It completely is a different God they're talking about, and so I would have to say that it wouldn't be some kind of theistic God is for one that wants personalized relationships that people think, because even the most diehard Christian, you asked them, okay, you got a personal relationship with Christ, but what does that mean? What does it mean? Hang out for you at lunch? I mean, you guys talk? What? It's and so I would think that it'd be some kind of creator being, and and for some reason he's just maybe like doing not experiment, but just set things in motion and see what happens, kind of thing. For what rhyme or reason, I have no idea.
I mean, exactly that reason. I mean, I think the thing that you can take out straight off the top as being sort of the least likely are the things that are loaded, the religions that are loaded down with so much dogma and sort of like the concept in the Quran that fresh water and salt water doesn't mix. Well, the claim is that the Quran is inerrant on everything. Salt water and fresh water doesn't mix, and we know absolutely that salt water and fresh water does mix, which is a contradiction in their book. But we don't know if that's that observation in the book is something that's been bolted on at a later stage. That's an error by some transcription error or a translation error or a misread. Or the thing is so damn old, and
I think it was all written by man. I think it was all oral stories. Yeah, I think that whatever core. See, here's the thing. I come to the belief that most stories have a kernel of truth somewhere down the line. Very few stories are just ex nihilo, right? They don't just come out of nothing. There's usually something that's taken and they twist it and distort it, right? And it could be a complete bastardization, but there's usually some what I would call a nucleation point, right? If you know about physics, what a nucleation point is. There's some nucleation point that the stories have evolved from. And so if there is a nucleation point where there was some kind of original creator being, it has been long since lost over the ages. And people have just been struggling to get it back. And if anything, I like the Gnostic literatures. They're at least more interesting about how the world was created.
I think at the beginning that there was indeed a Mary and she was pregnant with a Jesus. I think that actually happened.
With that too, actually.
The part that they don't tell is that she was the village slut.
Yeah, I think she was probably, afraid. There was just how, but how that came to be such a massive story, that's been going on for thousands of years with billions of people. It's impressive.
Story. I remember hearing a particular comedian saying it this way. He goes, "Hey, what's the guy? Joseph, I think it was.
Joseph, yeah.
Joseph, yeah. You know how we never had sex? Yeah. Well, last night an angel visited me, and now I'm pregnant. Oh, Jesus Christ! What? Oh, you already know about it.
Yeah, exactly. I see something like, you've seen the meme where the guy is standing next to his pregnant wife, and he's like, I was infertile and we could not have a baby. And then I left for a year on deployment. And when I came back, my wife was pregnant. Hail, praise Jesus. It's like, oh yeah. Okay.
My favorite meme was a painting actually of the baby in the baby Jesus in the manger. And there's a crucifix on the wall. And I'm like, oh, spoiler alert.
Well, the thing that I find mad about this is, we've got this claim of parthenogenesis on one hand, and then the other hand, in the modern day context, we're holding statistics that indicate that false paternity is somewhere between 6 and 9%. I'm like,
Well, but here's the thing. Humans can have parthenogenesis. Okay, so that is possible. But every time they've had a parthenogenesis, one, it would always be female, and two, it's always you cannot carry it to term. It's always going to be prozygotic terminated. You're never going to have a baby that can live. You can't survive if it's parthenogenesis in humans. But can you get pregnant? No. Yes. Parthenogenesis can happen. Yes.
But
it's not viable. And they would be female.
There's a girl I worked with years ago. She ended up having to we had to give her sick leave because she thought she was pregnant, and it was like she had like the embryonic sac had formed. There was fluid in there. It was forming. She had a placenta bonded onto a uterine wall. It was pulling nutrients out. She was getting the morning sickness symptoms, the whole nine, positive pregnancy test, the whole 9 yards. and the
Well,
amniotic sac was empty.
That's
I know it's not.
false premise. Yeah, it's a false premise.
Yeah, I know it's not the same thing. But what I mean is, like, all of the biological mechanisms that we have, you can kickstart them without necessarily having the full genetic information to get it going. Because there was an egg in there.
Yeah, but you know what? You still got
you
people
have
that
to have an egg one.
But John, you still have people today that would probably still believe that, because I saw this one today with this guy was being carried around on like a throne thing because he's a preacher in Africa, and he claims he's too holy to put his feet on soiled ground, and so they carry him around wherever they go. And I'm like, these people, this is just suckers. That's all bullshit. All bullshit.
Yep. Absolutely. These are the people that I mean, these are people that are, in my opinion, mentally ill, and they're being taken advantage of.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, not all of them. Some of them are just suckers, but sure, a lot of them are the elderly, the unwell, and I see a lot of duplicitous people, and I think almost every single preacher out there that is preaching things like a prosperity gospel or faith healing, I think all of them are scam artists. All of them.
Yeah, and it's a damn shame that we seem to be, as time goes on, we're losing a little bit more logic every single day. I mean, and people just need to think logically. I mean, that's.
I try, dude. I had a guy tell me yesterday. He said, well, Steve, how could you say all faith, all psychics are fake, and remain agnostic? I'm like, because they're different propositions, you idiot. I'm not agnostic on that proposition. All faith, psychics. My position is this: if there's such thing as a real psychic that can do real psychic stuff, nobody's ever fucking heard of them. They do.
You want to know what? Yep. You want to know what's the funniest thing ever? Is imagine this: you're across the street from one of those buildings that say psychic on it, and I don't know, you're at a Wendy's and you're just enjoying your meal. You look out the window and you see the psychic exit the building, walk to the mailbox, check the mailbox, there's nothing there, and walk right back in.
Check the mailbox.
Yep, check the mailbox. So a psychic walks out of the psychic building, checks the mailbox, there's no mail, closes it, and walks right back in.
And the argument being that he should have known there was no fucking mail in the box.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. Well, the counter would be obviously they're not psychic about everything, but yeah.
Fucking got yeah. I mean, if people think thought logically, but then again, logic isn't good for all circumstances. I mean, after all, that's why I would be a piss poor person to put on the suicide prevention hotline.
You'd be like, just do it. You know what? You're right. Just do it.
I found out yesterday that my wife of 20 years was cheating on me. I have to kill myself. Hang on. Would it not make more sense to kill her?
They made me work 8 hours at my job today. I just want to kill myself. It's like, you know what? Take yourself out of jail.
Go to the nuclear option.
And just so that we're clear, that was just to be clear, that was a Family Guy skit. I did not come up with that.
The other thing I could imagine you doing, Reds, if you did get that phone call is, okay, so what's your PayPal? Okay, okay. I've just PayPal'd you $5. Go down the cheapest street in your town that you can find, and Hugh Grant this son of a bitch.
I can't believe that people don't grasp certain things. Like, just because you believe one thing doesn't mean you have to believe, something else. It's like, again, I've always been against psychics. Go back and look at my early days. I've always said psychics are bullshit.
What's it called, Steve? When they, I don't think they're called psychics, or maybe they are nowadays. I don't fucking know. But they walk around like the streets of New York with these fucking cards, and depending on which card that you draw, it'll tell you your future or some shit like that. Is that another? Do they call themselves psychics, or do they call themselves something else?
No, tarot cards they're called readers. Tarot cards call themselves readers. That the cards are all just doing the thing. Cards do all the work. They're just reading the cards. That's all they're doing.
I see. So they're not psychics. They're called readers. Well,
right.
Well, there's a whole bunch of online businesses that are dedicated to this shit, and one of them is operated by that same disingenuous piece of shit that runs the Spirit Science YouTube channel.
I know that, and he does crystals too.
And yeah, he does crystals, he does the cards, he does all that shit. And so you think what used to be a let's call it a profession that you needed an actual building. You had to go there, have them read your palm or some crazy shit like that. Now you can just order these fucking cards that do nothing online, and these motherfuckers are just sitting back raking in the cash.
Complete scam. Yeah, no, dude, I believed in crystals when I was like 13, I guess, maybe, But hey, look, when we're kids, right? And you learn, right? There's nothing wrong with learning.
I got one of those. I got one of those crystals that like made a rainbow when the light hit it just right, and never once did I think that shit was going to like predict my future or some shit like that.
I get it. No, but again, we all go through a learning phase. But I remember what kind of got me really rethinking things is I had a friend of the family that we called an uncle. One of those uncles that are not really an uncle, but you call such good friends of the family. And he had a pyramid that he would put razor blades under, and he believed that it kept him sharp. And this was an educated guy. This was not some kind. And I'm like, okay, this is bullshit. This is bullshit. Because I remember as a kid, I'd be like 8 years old, and I remember I remember joking. I was really young, and I put a book underneath my pillow, thinking that I could absorb the information by osmosis or some shit,
I think there's a difference between being like literally ignorant, being a young person and not. Okay, mate. Sorry, one sec, guys.
Yeah, go ahead.
Speaking of being a young person, let me deal with my youngins. And I think the most ridiculous belief I ever had as a kid was
yeah, you're good looking.
Well, yeah. I mean, a lot of things didn't end up in the way. Hey, a lot of things didn't end up in the way that I would have liked. Okay, dude, let's be honest here. Like, for example, I wanted a deep voice, and I wanted a rockin' beard. I wanted muscles, but instead, all I got was so much ass hair that my diarrhea comes out filtered water.
Dude,
you were pretty ripped at one time.
I hate that.
So, like I said, life has not been kind. But let's be honest with ourselves. There's no guarantees in life, so you're going to get what you're going to get.
Exactly.
So,
you make.
But
do what you got.
Yep. The most ridiculous belief that I had is that how you have those branches that get cut off and the tree kind of heals it over kind of thing.
Yeah.
I literally thought that those were eyeballs and they were watching me.
Oh, we should just do a hangout on people calling in and get us what their most ridiculous thing they used to believe.
I was a young child, and every time I would see those trees, I would look at it and go, "That shit's fucking watching me," and I'm not happy about it.
I'll tell you my most ridiculous. I was in preschool. It wasn't even in first grade. It was preschool, and we had just been learning about life and plants and trees, right? And we were told that trees were living things, right? And I remember going out for recess, and I go up to this tree that was a big tree that was in the playground, and I hugged the tree, and I was like hugging it, like, oh, I love you, I thought it was, I knew it was living, but I really didn't understood what it meant as being living, because I thought it really was alive kind of stuff, and so I gave it a big hug. I was trying to be really nice to it, come on, that's sweet. That's sweet. That's a wholesome story right there.
That's cute. One of the things. I was in my teens, so it wasn't a really young thing. But when I was a kid, my parents were watching like a travel program, a TV program about like Africa, and it showed you these guys in a field, and they had a sink, like on a metal sink on a stand in one side of the field, and a metal sink on the stand on the other side of the field. And the claim was that the equator ran directly through the field. And you could watch, because of the Coriolis effect, the water going counterclockwise on one side of the field.
They still do that. They still do that. They still do that to fool people.
Because the maths made sense in terms of like the rotational direction from one side of the equator to the other. I was totally taken in, but I didn't realize that the Coriolis effect only has a visible effect on huge bodies of water and clouds and things like that.
That's a scam.
I was totally taken in.
Yeah, hey, look, man. Like I said, this is why people that have been taken in by a lot of things get better to be critical thinkers. They've learned from their mistakes. They adjust. They adapt.
That's what I was going to say before. I mean, some people are skeptical and some people aren't. Some people can be hypnotized, some people aren't. I mean, there's a reason why you get so many people that take on these sort of like Ponzi schemes, like those guys that sell the aloe vera, or like Joey. Hey, I'm at level 4. I've paid $16,000 and I don't feel any different, man.
Well, that isn't that Scientology in a nutshell?
Yeah, essentially. But it's also stuff like I think some people are wired to be skeptical and critical, and some people just aren't. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, I have no clue why, because my dad was, well, he would have called himself an atheist, but he was agnostic. My dad, when I was a kid, I think just because they wanted some free Sunday afternoons, sent me to Sunday school. I went to Sunday school for a grand total of 3 Sundays before they asked my dad not to bring me back. And it's because I kept on asking questions. And one of the questions I asked, and don't get me wrong, there is based on scripture, there is an answer to this question. But the fact that I was like a 7-year-old child or something asking the question, we were talking about Noah's Ark and the fact that Noah was given permission to sacrifice one of the surplus goats that they had to feed his starving family. So I was like, well, hang on a minute. That means God gave Noah, specifically Noah and his family, permission to eat the goat. So that indicates that, and obviously I'm paraphrasing, I wouldn't have phrased it like this. So that indicates that God, since he had to give specific permission to eat a surplus of goats, wasn't happy about any humans eating animals. So why aren't all Christians vegetarians?
Yeah, and you're gonna find little kids asking very hard questions, and I feel very bad for the children of Scientology believers. And I live very, very fucking close to Clearwater, Florida, which is like Scientology fucking central. And when you walk through the streets of Clearwater, Florida, you feel like a weight to the atmosphere. It's like there is so much human misery in this one spot, and it's fucking awful. And the structures that these guys do their, let's just call it business, the structures that they do their business in is, these grand big buildings, luxury out the ass kind of thing, but you just can't help but feel as though there is a shit ton of human misery just right there. And then you gotta think, is that God forbid that a kid fucking asks questions when they're in that kind of environment, because if so, they're going to get their fucking ass kicked. That's the feeling you get when you're in that area.
That is exactly what happened. I lived next to, not too far from a place called San Jacinto, California, and they have a place called Gold Base. It is a compound. It is a legit full-on compound. It has guards. It has security cameras, patrols 24/7. And it's a public road that goes right through the base. You have to drive this road to get from to the freeway or off the freeway from the I-10. So it goes right through Gold Base to get to the other side over to Hemet. And it's something out of a movie. It's so dilapidated, and so, I mean, it looks, the veneers on the front is good, but the rest of it, if you look deep, it looks like death warmed over. It looks like these people are like seriously in an actual compound. Yep.
I don't know if you guys will be aware of him, but we've got a comedian in the UK called Frankie Boyle. He's a Scottish guy. He once did a joke, and whether this is true or not, I don't know. But apparently, Tom Cruise's lawyers got in touch with him about it. You remember when he was married, like the daughter that he's got, Siri or whatever her name is. Who was the actress that he was married to? I can't remember her name.
Siri is from he was married to Tom Cruise and goddamn, what was
But I mean, you know who I mean, though. It's not critical to the joke, but he goes, if you ever went round Tom Cruise's house and you were having dinner, do you think his wife would have written "Get help" in the peas?
Get help, Katie Holmes.
Katie Holmes. Yeah, do you think Katie Holmes would have written like "Get help" in the peas?
She was, you know what? She probably did ask for help at one time, because Katie was indoctrinated into that shit.
It was Mimi Rogers, Nicole Kidman, and Katie Holmes.
Yeah, Mimi was his first wife.
So yeah,
Mimi was like, "Screw this shit." After a while,
it's like I said, you go to Clearwater, Florida, you will feel it in the air. It's a very weird feeling. I can't quite describe it. It's something where you have to go there and just walk down the street, and you're gonna get approached. You will get approached, and it's not a nice.
And
they're not friendly. They're not friendly people.
No,
What
no,
you
no.
call it pressure? Just like there's pressure in the air. That's because of this
No,
weird
it's
magic.
it just seems there's no light. It's nothing. There's nothing festive there. It's just like in the
Pressure.
goal-based outfit. It's
That's
just
festive.
So when you say get approached, would you approached in what way? Sort of like try here, come and like the Jehovah's Witness. They're sort of like, hey, come and join us, come and sing Kumbaya with us. Or
no more
the
like
fuck
what are you
doing
doing here?
type
And if you
approach.
don't identify, where's your papers?
Papier
They'll
is a
start
type approach.
questioning like your business there, and it's like I tend to always, I guess I'm always an asshole, but I guess I'm more of an asshole to them because in my opinion, even though I feel sorry for them, they fucking deserve it. So, it's like, what are you, like, if they come to me and they say, what are you doing here? I just go, I live here, asshole.
Oh, I see that was your culture. You're just
What in the
fitting
world,
in.
man?
I mean, you see that fucking hospital, Morton Plant? You see that hospital right fucking there that's with an eye shot? I was born there, motherfucker. That's what I'm doing here.
Not only that, I can do whatever I want, man. I'll walk wherever I want. What are you talking about?
They'll harass you anywhere.
They think they own the entire city, and in reality, they kind of do. So I can't really see that they're wrong. But if I want to go to the fucking Walgreens or the Publix or whatever store that's in that area, I don't need to be fucking approached.
Yeah, well, I mean, I live in
Utah. What am I doing here? I'm walking down the street, enjoying the sunshine, minding my own business in this gorgeous open carry state. Now, fuck off.
Mormons are the same. Look, there's certain cities in Utah that.
I bet.
Yeah, and like I said, they'll start questioning you, and if you and here's the thing, do not even give them a hope that you are interested in their bullshit. Do not, because they will talk your fucking ears off if you give them that opportunity. And then they say, oh, we'll do this and we'll do this. And then you start saying, well, that sounds pretty horrible. Oh, come on, dude. Well, let me go ahead and give you my Slack. And then you say, there's a Slack?
I made that mistake once with Jehovah's Witnesses I was in my sort of early 20s, and the Jehovah's Witnesses knocked on. It was actually my parents' house. They knocked on the door, and what they try and do is my dad and my mum and dad lived in quite an affluent area. There's quite an elderly population there, so they were constantly doing the rounds, knocking on the doors. And it just occurred to me I didn't really know a fat lot about them. I figured out pretty quick that they're essentially an offshoot of the Seventh-day Adventists. So sort of basically creationists that disregard some significant chunks of the King James Bible. But
one thing that I've noticed in Clearwater, and like I said, I do not recommend going there, but if you feel like hating yourself for a day or two, go to Clearwater. But you will go to Clearwater and you will, I guess the only way I can describe the atmosphere is it's very culty, very, very culty. Like, you can taste the cult in the air. I mean, it has that tinge to it, I guess.
So you never want to say so what's this auditing all about? You want to give me a free audit?
My emails.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I got that distinct feeling with these Jehovah's Witness guys because they were very polite. It was a great conversation, and like a day later, I had a handwritten letter put through my front door, addressed to me. But beautiful handwritten letter. It was really, really nice, really polite. And essentially, they were asking me. We had a conversation on the doorstep for about 45 minutes, and they invited me to come to their church to sit down and talk to their congregation because they wanted to have a better understanding of sort of like atheists and agnostics, and essentially they wanted to use me as a research tool so that they could better direct their propaganda and avoid the pitfalls.
You were going to be there.
I don't think there would be any good to do that. I don't think it'd be any good. I mean,
I didn't. Well, like I said, they're very polite. I didn't go. But I get the distinct impression that I'd have walked through the door, there'd have been an altar in the corner, and possibly, a bath of ice with some suspiciously kidney-shaped Ziploc bags as well.
Not necessarily could have been that bad. They might have actually wanted to use you again to tailor their approach differently, and maybe convert you as well. But my thing is, even if you would have gone through to one or two people in the congregation, I think it would have had more of a detrimental effect because they're not interested in getting your position. They're not interested in anything you have to say. All they want to do is better shore their shitty arguments.
Yeah, the questions that I would have asked would have been. I mean, I was surprised because the questions that I would have asked would have been dangerous enough to our ideology, let alone the fact that they weren't able to answer them. Just put in the questions. So, I mean, I was tempted to go, but my reason for having the conversation was because I didn't really understand or have much knowledge about them, and I wanted to. So I'd got what I needed out of the exchange, and I wasn't interested in.
Are you heavy in the Bible? I mean, do you know a lot about the Bible? Because my brother was Jehovah's Witness, and they have some pretty out there beliefs.
I read it I've read the Bible cover to cover. I've read the Quran cover to cover. I've read the Torah cover to cover. I've read some of the Hadiths just because, and I did that a long time ago. It started when I had, as a kid, I had like a children's version of the Bible, which is, I mean, it was, I don't know, maybe 200 pages long or something. It was a fraction of the total content. And I read it and I was fascinated. So I went out and got my dad, essentially was the person who promulgated all of my. I watched a TV program about the Hindenburg, the German pre-World War II Zeppelin. I watched a documentary about that, and I bugged the shit out of my dad with questions because, as far as I was concerned as a kid, my dad knew everything. And he just that's when he just grabbed me by the scruff of the neck, took me down the local library, signed me up for a library card, and went. Go nuts,
I love the library.
Off.
Yeah, we didn't have internet access. We had to go actually to the library and read stuff back. And I think that makes a difference to a lot of people because I notice a lot of kids nowadays, they have so much access to information and they don't know how to properly utilize it. And same thing when I see people do Google Foo. I have people go, "Oh, Google Foo," and they tell me something, and I'm like. Do you realize that you're literally just Googling something and you're taking the first thing that you see that you didn't even read, that you don't even know the topic? It drives me fucking crazy.
It's the combination of the amount of information that's out there and the lack of motivation or discipline to go and get for it. It's like, obviously the UK and the United States have a not insignificant obesity problem. And, whether you're obese or whether you're not, I'm not going to assign a value judgment to you as a person or a character. I'm going to assign a value judgment on what I think is your ability to conduct a healthy lifestyle. But I don't think you're worth more or worth less than anybody else.
Agreed.
But what really pisses me off is when people go, "Oh, well, the reason we've got so much obesity is because we don't teach nutrition in school." You can Google how to build a fucking nuclear bomb. You can't Google how to boil pasta and peas. I mean, what?
Yeah, well, what's so funny is I didn't really understand a lot about nutrition till I would say, 12, 15, I mean, maybe it wasn't that long. I didn't really get into the crux of nutrition until much later in life. And I only started like my first real diet, was it 4 years ago? And I was learning a lot that I had no idea. I mean, maybe I went over it in school. I remember we had, health classes and stuff like that, but you just don't absorb it or something. But I don't think a lot of people really understand nutrition. They just don't.
I didn't understand nutrition like I was 18 and I'm 31 now, so that's about 12 years ago or so.
Yeah, I think a lot of just kids don't understand nutrition very well.
And a lot of them don't understand the simple mathematical principle of calories in, calories out. And on that bombshell, I'm going to fuck off and get to bed.
Yeah, but yeah, we got to remember calories have to come from sources, right? So you have to mix your fruit, your fats, your proteins, and your carbohydrates, and you have to make sure you're not just having empty calories. And that's what a lot of kids
We've just had a landmark court case in the UK where two parents have just been convicted of manslaughter and neglect because they had she was disabled. She had like some variation of cystic fibrosis, some kind of. And over the COVID period, she was going into school, obviously pre-COVID, and then we had the COVID lockdowns and all the rest of it. And at the end of the COVID lockdown, she never came back to school. She essentially ended up, she was 14 years old, essentially ended up being morbidly obese. And I can't remember what the cause of death was, but essentially she ended up with all sorts of like cardiac problems, apnea problems. I think she was so overweight that she died of sleep apnea. She suffocated in her sleep. She just stopped breathing.
Is that the one that she became one? There was two people that was convicted on gross negligence and some other things because the person was so attached to the couch. She was stuck to the couch in her own fecal matter and stuff.
Well, this was UK based, not US based.
I don't know what this was either. I don't know if it was UK or not, but a lot of people, like I said, they I think it's a parent's responsibility to make sure that people are healthy. And as again, it's not a value judgment. It's a matter of making sure that they're eating properly. You cannot exist on fast food alone. You can supplement, but if you eat fast food alone, you're not going to survive very long.
Well, you can eat fast. You can be overweight and be malnourished.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, but it's like there's that horrific story of this poor lady where she was, essentially it was that typical sort of overweight wife, skinny stick feeder of a husband, and they ended up having to get like the paramedic crews in or something, and they bought like a mobile X-ray machine in from like some local fucking zoo or something and X-rayed her because she found this solid mass in her abdomen. But they couldn't figure out what it was. It felt odd. They couldn't palpate it enough because there was so much just skin and biomass loosely attached to a skeleton. So they bring in this mobile X-ray machine. And do you know what it turned out to be?
Poop.
Nope. It was the remote control from their old TV that was folded between fat and its slabs of skin.
Yeah, no doubt that. Oh. Yeah, I've heard all kinds of stories like that. It's sad.
But what I mean is, that's where I think community is so important around these sort of things, and having family around you and having people around you that can actually be brutally honest with you, because sometimes that's what you need. Like the fact that husband and wife were left alone, for the wife's mental health and self-esteem to be so fucking terrible, and the husband to have this, I don't know, fetish, kink, I don't know what the hell it was, to essentially be allowed to continue abusing her, to the point at which they couldn't identify by palpation the difference between a potentially cancerous tumor and a fucking TV remote.
Yeah. We had, well, I mean, I don't know, in California here, matter of fact, this happened about 2 miles where I used to live. 2 miles. I mean, literally, I know the street. I could walk to this location to where it was. It was just in Paris, California, and there was a family where the 2 teenagers finally were able to get out of the house and tell people that their kids, the kids there, were chained to the beds, and some of them had never even been outside. And it was a family of 8. It was a family of 8, and it was 2 girls that finally was able to escape the house. They were able to contact the police and said, "Hey, we don't know what to do here. Our family is being held in, for years." And they thought they were nuts. They were like, "Yeah, what the heck are you talking about?" Because these 2 kids would go to school, and everything would be fine, but the younger kids were all being abused by the parents. And finally, they just escaped one night and went to the police, and the police thought they were crazy. But then they started telling them some very specific information, and the police went there, and it was almost like a murder house. Only the kids weren't dead, but it was, they were in really bad shape.
I'm not morally against capital punishment. I am against it from a practical point of view, because I think that the amount of money, time, resources, and expenditure that you have to ensure that you are not making a mistake.
From a moral point of view, I'm not. I say kill
from
him.
a moral point of view, and I find it, my pragmatic argument against it, I find it really difficult to maintain when you hear about stuff like that. I mean, I've got 2 young kids. I've got a 4-year-old and he will be a 7-year-old in 2 days. Oh, coincidentally, Steve, you share the same birthday with my wife. So,
happy birthday! Wait, her birthday's on Valentine's Day, and it's Valentine's Day and her birthday, and you're spending it with us? She better be.
No, because I'm 8 hours behind you, Steve. This was yesterday, so it's morning for me.
Fair enough. Yeah, my birthday's almost over. So.
Yeah, no, I cooked her. We did beef Wellington and took her out for a few cocktails and stuff.
I'll marry you for beef Wellington. Damn.
But we tend not to go out and eat on Valentine's Day, because I don't know if it's the same in the States, but the restaurants in the UK, they're booked up to the fucking kazoo, and they tend not to do their usual menu. They'll do like a special Valentine's Day menu, and they pink balloons, and it pisses me off because we're not going out for Valentine's Day. We're going out for a birthday, so we'll go out.
There's probably 3 restaurants here that do reservations. Even people don't go out as much as they used to here by any stretch of imagination.
Town was actually surprisingly quiet last night. It was surprisingly quiet. I think we're starting to see the cutting edge of the economic situation, to be honest.
I think that once we go into a full actual recession, prices will start coming down. I think they have to. But that's a whole different stream for economics. But I do gotta get going. My roommate wants to go to sleep. She's had a few beers and she's ready to crash. I gotta go to work tomorrow. So I want to thank you guys for joining me on my birthday. It was sweet.
Yeah, not a problem.
Happy birthday!
Thank you.
Happy birthday, bud.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Flamo. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Super Chatters. Seriously, I was going to go to stream for like 20 minutes and I was very surprised. So thank you very much. But this was fun. I love these types of just hanging out and chill. But I'll see you Friday. So if you guys know anybody that wants to debate me or discuss, if babies are atheists, that's not going to freaking just come with a dictionary. I mean, maybe that's all I'm going to get. I get that, but that's so trivial to even talk about. I don't even know why bother. But if somebody who really wants to argue that we're born atheists and why, and give me a good reason, I'll listen to it. I think to me, again, I think it's just as bad as a Christian saying my child's Christian. Your child doesn't know what they believe. It's just another form of indoctrination, and I don't like that.
Oh yeah.
And what's funny is Richard Dawkins was even arguing that claiming babies and kids are atheists is no different than saying your kids are Catholic or Christian. It's a form of indoctrination, and it was Cosmic Skeptic actually that disagreed with him, and I think that now Cosmic Skeptic has reevaluated and changed his positions on a lot of things.
Yeah, it's no different than saying my child's communist, my child's a neocon, my child's it's.
All you can say is your child's an American or UK because they're sort of you can say that my child's an American, But as far as any of her political stuff, I don't know. I mean, I could guess, but I mean, my daughter, whatever she wants to grow up to be, that's what she's going to grow up and believe, But right now, she believes the Earth isn't flat, so that's good. The Earth is round.
I think we might want to have a conversation.
Oh, dude, she thinks. She thinks they're so stupid.
I need to have a sit down with my daughter because she's 7 years old and I don't really know what the state of her beliefs are. Like I don't know what the state of her, and she's at that age where she's going to be hearing concepts and thinking, I should probably have a sit down and have a chat with her about it when I get.
Yeah, I love my little chats with my daughter. Like I'll leave you guys with this. So my daughter one time, she had told me that it was her fourth or fifth grade teacher. She said, well, my teacher was a flat earther in like fourth or fifth grade. I'm like, what? She's like, yeah. And I'm like, why didn't you ever tell me that? I would have loved to have a little conversation with them. And she's like, well, that's why I didn't tell you.
Yeah. Steve just kicking down the front door with a globe under his arm at the next school committee meeting.
Yeah, I don't remember what grade it was. It was like we were sixth grade. I don't remember. It was hilarious. That really didn't happen. I said, like, that's why I didn't tell you. I was like, okay. I was like, you really? She has friends. She knew people. She had classmates. She's like, oh my god, they're so stupid. I'm like, yep.
You'd have been able to tell which teacher it was, Steve, because the second they saw you coming towards you, they'd have just pulled to their knees, point at you, shrieking, "Heresy! Heresy! Blasphemer!"
But my daughter doesn't even know me. I would have called Rez and had him come down. All right, guys. Good night. Thank you for watching. See you.